This conference will now be recorded.
Okay, so you able to see my screen, guys?
Yes, Shankar.
Yes, Shankar, able to see.
Okay, so in our last session, we have discussed about our cloud and instance creation and the options, the actions of the instance, like changing the instance type and right, the properties, right? So, like, let's see the other options, the other properties from the EC2. Today, we'll discuss about that. Okay. Okay. So now, if I want to create a mission, right? So what we are going to do, we'll go to the EC2 and we'll start creation of instance by submitting the launch instance button by clicking on that. Then it will ask us 7 steps process, right? So the AMI, instance type, configuration, storage, tags, security, and review, right? So these 7 steps has to be repeated when I want to have a mission. You need to give all the 7 steps, then finally it is going to like we are going to have the mission, right? So if you don't require, if you want to go with the default, straight away you can go click on the run and launch, but usually the 7 steps process is required to create a mission. So now this I want to make it as automation, right? Every time I don't want to go with all the 7 steps, simply I want to make it as automated, like nothing but we are going to create templates. So the template will be having all the 7 steps. So now just you are going to pass the input to the template, so that it's going to take your inputs and it's going to create a mission for you instead of going with all the 7 sections. And as an example, sorry. So right now I want to have a T2 micro mission. Tomorrow I want to have a T2 medium mission, right? So or some other day I want to have a 50 GB hard disk mission, right? So now your requirement is going to change based, right? So now here in the template, whenever I want to have a mission with some configuration, right, nothing but instance type T2 medium, T2 micro, like that. So now to the template I'm going to pass that instance type, whatever I'm looking for, right? Or if you want to change your key, right? So in the template I'm going to pass the other key, something like that. So you don't need to go with all the 7 sections. Simply you are going to pass the inputs to the template. So that is that facility is provided by our EC2 service. Straight away can create a template. The template can be utilized when you want to have a mission. So for that, go to the services and go to the EC2, and here you can see that option called launch templates. So click on the launch templates, and you can see here it's going to ask. Right now I'm not having any templates here. So click on create launch template. Here you can see my template name. So here EC2 template, some name I'm going to provide, and here template version description. Right. So here I'm going to use dev, some dev environment. So now here you can see the options, template tags. You want to create a tag for the template, or if you have any other templates which you want to launch instead of creating the new templates, so those can be taken from here. Then these are the steps actually. Right. So here image, like we are going to see all the 7 sections here. So it means you are going to create a template with all the 7 sections. So now here AMI. So right, by default I will go with the some AMI. So EC2, like sorry, what is called Linux, Amazon Linux to AMI, something, some default image. And here by default I will go with the T2 micro, the free one, and here my key, right? So here this is the default key I'm going to take, and here networking setting. As of now, we'll be having only the virtual private cloud, so we'll go with the default one. And here security groups. So in our right, so we'll discuss about security groups. So any security group you want to take it as a default. Suppose I want to take the security group as an example. So this is the default security group, and here the volumes. By default 8 GB volume. If you want to add extra volume, you can add it here. Then the tags also. If you want to add the tags, you can add the tags. Key name dev. And so here for which resource you want to give the tag, volumes, spot instances, elastic graphics are instances. By default, it is selected instances. And this is the networking section. You can leave it. So advanced, right? Is nothing but you can choose the systems type, spot instances. You want to go with the what is called bidding. IAM policies we'll discuss later. More details here. Shutdown behavior, right? You want to what kind of action you want to take. Stop or terminate. Right? We have seen these options: terminate production, detailed cloud watch monitoring, elastic GPU. Right? Those you can provide in the advanced section. So as of now, I'm going to leave the advanced section here. At the end, you are going to see the input of like bootable scripts. Right? We have discussed about this one. Bootable scripts can be passed here. So as of now, I'm not going to have anything. So simply I'm going to close this advanced. So now I'm going to create a launch template. So now here you can see the review successfully created. Next section, you can what you can do with this template. You can launch the templates. You can create auto scaling. You can create a spot fleet. Right, nothing but on-demand prices. Like the prices can be varied. Click on view launch templates. So now here a template will be created. Right. So now this template will be having all of the sections. So now when I want to have a mission, simply what I'm going to do, simply I'm going to click on the launch template. So now here you are going to see the version to launch the template. One version is required. This is the version one it has taken default. That is fine for me. So now here I am going to click on actions. Then I will go with the launch instance from template. So these are the details which is going to provide to us. AMID, storage, default storage, tags, networking. We are not providing networking, and also advanced we are not provided. So right, so in the instance details you can see T2 micro security group, key, and the AMID like that. So now let's go to the actions and click on launch instance from the template. Click on here. Right. So now here it is going to take the details like the source template, EC2 template, and the template version I have given as a dev. So it is going to take the template version as a default. Then here you can choose how many instances you want. Then here if I scroll down, you can see here whatever the default I have provided, the default is going to show us here. If you are good with this default, you can go with that. Otherwise, if you want to change any property, suppose this one I want to create a Ubuntu mission, so I can change it here. Ubuntu missions, right? Otherwise, if you want to go with the default like that, so based on the requirement, the particular section can be changed. If you want to change the T2 micro like instance type, you can change it like that. The templates can accept your properties. If you are good with the like whatever the information is there on the template, if you are good, you can go down, you can scroll down here, you can click on the launch instance. If anything you want to change, you can go to the particular section and you can change it, any section before launching. So here I am going to click on the launch instance. Right. So now successfully initiated. So now here if I go to my EC2 service and if I see the running instances, there one more machine is going to launch. Existing one is running now, one more is plans. Likewise, we can create the templates, then the templates can be utilized instead of going with all the steps. One section. And here these are the nothing but our instance types, the planning, the pricing. We have discussed about spot, right? So same plans like reserved instances, dedicated instances, like that. So those are the part of the pricing thing. And here you can see the images part, right? We have seen also, we have covered this images also, right? How to create our own images, right? So so that the custom image can be utilized to create our own system infrastructure, nothing but the system configurations with the softwares by using this AMI, right? So here from the AMI section, the interview question, right? So we have created Apache with the Git and something like that, right? In our last class. So now here the interview part from the AMI section is all the services, whatever the services we are going to create, right? So the EC2 or whatever the services I'm going to create, those services are belongs to the region, right? So now if you guys observe here, I am in the Ohio region. In the Ohio region, I have my own images, Apache with Git, Apache with Git one, something like that. If I go to the dashboard, there I can see there are four missions are there. Out of four, two are running, right? So likewise, if I go to the security groups, then here you can see so many security groups are there with the name launch wizards 7, 8, 9, 10, like that, right? And also if I go to the volumes, that hard disk, right? So now here if I go to the volumes here, I can see, right, the four missions are running. For the four missions, four volumes you can see here for the four missions, right, in use, right? So these are the resources as of now I have created on the region called Ohio. Now I'm going to change the Ohio to Mumbai. If I go to the Mumbai, there we are not going to see our Ohio resources. See, no volumes. If I go to the security groups, there is something, not our launch wizard. Something is there, default one. That is for the default security group. And if I go to the AMIs, no AMIs. If I go to the instances, zero running instances. Right? As I said, the services, whatever the services we are going to take or we are going to utilize from a region, those will be belongs to the same region. You cannot use that resources into other region. So now your requirement is, the entry question here is, right? Right now I'm having a mission. I'm having a server which is running on Ohio. Right. So now this is the Ohio region, and here if I go here, there are two missions are running. So now the question here is, in the Ohio I have a mission, a server is running. Now this server I want to take it or I want to move it into the other region called Mumbai, some other region, some other region. So how we are going to take this mission into the other region? Right? Take this mission in the sense, whatever the software's configurations you have done on the server, the same configurations, everything you have to take it from here and you have to move it to that other region. Right. So that's what the requirement is here. So now here what we are going to do thing is, so when you want to have the system configurations, data, everything, everything, right? If you want to replicate the system, what we are going to do, we are going to take the backup of what? The backup of mission image. Right. So now we are going to create a snapshot. Nothing but we are going to create a AMI on the running mission, so that the AMI will be capture everything like including softwares, configurations, data, everything is going to take it and is going to create an image for us. That's what the AMIs. Custom AMIs means the running server information we are going to take it in the form of AMI. So now that AMI can be taken into other regions. You cannot take the server. You cannot take the server straight away from here to there. From here to there means from this region to that region. You have to you have to create a AMI on this server. That AMI can be copied into the other regions. That is possible. This is what we need to tell them. When then the people are going to ask us how to, I want to have the mission from this region to that region, means you need to tell this answer like you have to create a AMI on that mission or for that mission, then copy the AMI from this region to that region. Then we know how to create a mission with that AMI. Right? Then create a mission with that AMI on the other region so that you'll be having the same replica. Right? So let's see here. So how we are going to do. So now here I will go to the AMI section. Then here select the AMI, whatever the image you want to move. Right? Copy. Right? We know, right? So whatever the mission you want to take into other region, first what we will do, you are going to select the mission, then go to the actions, then you will go to the images, then you are going to click on create image. Then it is going to ask the name. Then once after the name is provided, right, we have seen this one also, no reboot, right? Otherwise the current mission will be rebooted. Then this is the existing volume. We are going to click on the create image, right? We have seen this part in our previous class. So now once with this option, we are going to have our own images and the images part. So now once the image is created, right, you can see the image is available. So now click on the image, then go to the action. There you can see there is an option called copy AMI. Right. So select the copy AMI. Right. So now here you can see destination region. Which region you want to copy. Right. So if I click on here, the drop down, there you can see all the regions. So now I want to take it into Mumbai as an example. Right. So the name, everything you want to take it as it is, or you want to use your own naming. Right. Like there is a option which is going to provide us encryption so that it will be copied securely. By default in the background, the AWS will be taking care of the encryption. Just you need to select it so that the EBS snapshot will be taken as an encrypted mode. Right. So now here click on copy AMI. Copy AMI. Right. So the AMI copy operation has been initiated. Right. So click on done. Right. So now here go to the other region, Mumbai, and go to the AMI part. Right. You can see here. I am in the AMI part. Here you can see it is in the pending state. Today date 13th. Right. Today date is going to create. Right. So once you got the image, now you can right, by clicking on the launch, you can create the mission. Likewise, we can move the missions, or we can copy the mission, or we can replicate the missions on the other regions. Right. By default, the mission itself cannot be taken as it is. We have to create the AMIs. So now here, let me go to the Ohio back. So now here, the hard disk part, right? DBs, sorry, EBS. Right. So now here in our AWS, so whatever the hard disk we are going to call in our laptops or desktop, here they are going to call as elastic block storages. Right. So now here the elastic block storages are going to refer the size, the data, the capacity are nothing but in the volumes. The technical word they are going to call as the volumes. So now here every machine will be attached with the volumes. The hard disk nothing but is we can call it the volumes. Now the volumes can be based on your requirement. By default, for the free 8 GB they are going to provide, you can have whatever the size you want to have, right? So now here the advantage with the services, you are not sure your requirements, right? I don't know how much how much data size is required for me. Maybe 10 GB or 100 GB or 500 GB. I am not sure. Yes, even though no problem, take it with the least, take it with the 50 GB. Then in future, if you want to increase, yes, just simply you can increase it. You don't need to worry about you have to take 1 TB, and then after that you don't feel worry like it is not required for me, just 100 GB is fine. No worries. Take it least and scale it out. That's for the elastic, right? So now here, how much you want, you can take it, then later on you can scale it, right? So now here, if you want to have your volume, now go to the volume section. So now here, whatever the servers are running, thus for the servers, for each server will be having a one volume, by default 8 GB. We can see here, right? So now here the thing is, you can create the volumes first, then the volumes can be utilized while creating the instance. Or while creating the instance, it is going to ask you, this is the default size I am going to provide. You want to have your own volume, right? We have seen that one, right? So multiple ways you can do that. One is while creating the instance, there itself you can provide the volume thing. Otherwise, create a volume first, then later on while creating it, you can utilize it. So if you want to create the volumes upfront, then this is the option. Click on create volume. Right. So now here this is the options. Now here you can see the volume types. Right. So here the volumes types are nothing but different type: general purpose, provisioned IOPS, IO1, like versions like advanced, cold, HDD, throughput, magnetic. Right. Nothing but the operations. Right. What kind of operations you are going to perform, and what is the frequency of the operations. Right. So if the disk uses normal uses, nothing but I want to store some static data, some images or video, something like that. So for that, I don't require a faster response and receive IOPS. I can say input output per second is not required that much. Like arms, I can do these operations. I don't need that much of transactions. Like IOPS should be like if you want to have a banking transactions, insurance projects, there you have to so it has to be responded immediately if you want to run such kind of applications. So there you have to go with the IOPS area, right? Input output per second. How many requests you are going to send in a second, right? Based on that, you are going to choose the hard disk, right? We have seen this one also in the past, right? So if I right, based on your requirement, you can go with by default it is general purpose. It will go to provide you. So it is a moderate one. It is going to provide some set of IOPS, and also it is like a kind of magnetic disk. Means the cost will be balanced here. So right here. So if you want to, you don't want to have any kind of IOPS part. Just is the job is like I want to do some kind of testing. For that, I don't require any kind of IOPS. Then you can go with the magnetic, cheaper one, right? So right. So likewise, you can choose the other areas. So now here, how much size you are looking for actually. So the max is 16,384 GB, and here you can select how much you want. Suppose I want only 10 GB. Right. If I go with the general purpose, it is going to price. So we have seen this one, 3 IOPS per GB. If I go with the general purpose magnetic, right, so you are not going to have any kind of IOPS part, not applicable. Normal users, you are not looking for any kind of IOPS part here. Likewise, you can select this one. Right. So here you can go with the 64,000 IOPS and IO1. Go with right. So here by default they are going to provide 500 max 100 to 64,000 IOPS. Both are different versions, but still they are going to support only the 64,000 IOPS. And here the cold HDD is a new one. So it is not also supporting the IOPS part. Throughput optimized, it is also not supporting the IOPS part. These are the two things newly added here. So nothing but normal usage. So right, so likewise you can see here based on the requirement you are going to go with the magnetic type. By default one is nothing but the general purpose, and here my requirement is 10 GB. Right, then availability zone, right? So here for every region we are going to have the zones to maintain the high availability, right? So now here on which zone you want to launch it, there are three zones are available for the Ohio region, right? You can choose whatever the zone you want to launch it, right? I want to launch into the 2C, suppose. Select it. So then here snapshot IDs, nothing but right. So here the snapshot IDs are nothing but your volumes can be taken as a backup, the snapshots, right? So here as of now I don't have any snapshot for this one, so leave it this one. And encryption, right? Your volumes can be encrypted by default. We don't need to do anything, simply you need to select it. And here the master key, right? So here the KSMS encryptions which is going to follow. So that for that we need to provide the KSMS key, or the other way is there AES, I think. So those keys has to be provided. So as of now we don't have any keys. So here I can see AWS EBS is the one. So this is the KMS key. They are going to take it. And so by default they will take it. We don't need to do anything here. Simply your AWS will be taken care if you want to go with the encryption. Right, so here I am not going to choose anything. Then finally create volume. Right, so here the volume is created. Then click on close. So now here extra volume is created, and here you can see it is in the available phase, not in use available, because just now we have created 10 GB of size, not attached to anything. So here, if you want to modify it, you can modify the volume. Right, you can attach the volume. You can create the snapshot. We'll see this one. Delete the volume. So modify the volume for nothing but you can increase the size later on. If you want to have more size, you can increase it. You want to change the volume type also, right? So now here I have taken the general purpose, but this IOPS are not sufficient. I need more. Then yes, you can change it on fly. No worries. Like that, you can change the properties by clicking on the volume. Then here you can attach this volume right to the instances. This is a running instance, and here you can see dev SDF, the device, like the partition name, like C drive, D drive, like that. Here you can see it is attached to dev SDF. If you want to have, if you have other partitions, the other partitions you want to use, then you can change it, right? So like then you can click on attach so that this volume will be attached to the running instances. All running instances can attach it, right? So now here you can see here, as of now, only 157 is running showing here. So let me cancel it and see the instances list here. There are total 2 servers are running, but that is not, the two are not displayed on the attached list. Why? Because so here whatever the availability zone I have taken for the volume, it is trying to match with the same availability zone, the missions also. So now here out of the two missions, one is running in the 2C, the 157. This is the one. That is the reason the matched zones system only, the server only it has displayed, not the other zone server. Right. So now likewise, you can create the volumes. The volumes can be attached to the running instances, or when you want to create a new instance, while creating an instance, you want to attach the volume, that is also possible. Select. Right. So here I will go with the next configuration, and I will go with the add storage. Right. So here this is the root XVDA. Right. So now here you can create add volumes, the EBS. Right. So now here the snapshot. So whatever the volume here we have created, that has to be provided actually. So what is the snapshot ID, which I am not remember. So once you selected this one, let me go to the services, EC2. Volumes. Okay, we don't have any snapshot for this one. So it is looking for the snapshot ID. So what we need to do here is this volume directly cannot use to attach that one. For that, go to the actions, then here create a snapshot so that this volume can be attached here. So create a snapshot, snap description, my dev server, create a snapshot, close. So here we can see one thing. So attach is there, not to launch anything. Okay, fine. So right. So now here is looking for the snapshot. So now go to the EC2 dashboard, launch instance, and select configuration, add storage, add volume, and here now you can search for our snapshot. My SQL first snapshot creation, my snap. Again, we require to take the snapshot ID. Okay, let me go to the volumes again. Under the volumes, you can see the snapshots. You go to the snapshots, then here you can see my dev server. So now here I am going to give the name my dev server so that I can search with this name. Otherwise, you need to take the snapshot ID. This one. Copy. It's to dashboard, launch instance, select, configuration, add storage, add volume. Then here I'm going to paste it. Right, you can see with the my dev server. So then here the snapshot can be like the existing snapshot can be added something like that while creating a new instance. Or already if the instance is large, then straight away you can attach the volume. You don't require to create any snapshots. So this is one thing. So then here from the volume side, right? So volumes and snapshots are nothing but the backups. Snapshots are nothing but for the volumes. What are the volumes are running here? These volumes backup are nothing but the snapshots. But usually in our real time, we are going to take the snapshots of the our hard disk, nothing but the volumes, so that even though if you lose the volumes, right? So you'll be having the backup. So later on, you can use the snapshots to create the missions, right? So to bring the data back, right? So now here you can see here one thing from the volumes, right? So how we are going to take the backups then? Because right now here I can see there are 4 servers are running on this region, and out of the 4, 2 are running and 2 are inactive, 2 are stopped, right? So now here your duty is to take the backup, right? If any point of time if the service failed, then immediately you can get the data back by using the our volumes, our volume snapshots, the backups, right? So that's what the backup purpose here is. So now here this should be automated, not like you will daily you will go to your server, select the server, so the backup can be done in 2 ways, guys. One is the entire system can be backed up with the help of AMIs, right? So you will go to the you will select the mission, actions, image, create image. That's what the entire system is backed up with the softwares and but here usually we are going to focus more on the data, not with the system configuration, because the configurations we are going to do with your configuration management tools like the chef for Ansible, the installation and configuration. So means you'll be having the code handy with you, right? You can have the same infrastructure, right? That's what the configuration management tools purpose. When you want to have a mission with the same configuration, same software, simply what you will do, you are going to trigger the playbook, the Ansible playbook. So that is going to set up everything, right? So now here you don't bother about the configurations and softwares, because already you'll be having the playbooks or cookbooks, the config tools. So now you have to focus on the data, right? So the data has to be there, because you are not, right? If you are not having the data, even though you have the configuration, no use, right? You will not get the data. You will get the system state, but not the data. So that is the reason we are going to focus taking the backups on the data instead of the system, right? Again, the charge, when I'm going to take the wireless backup, it will be lesser charge when you're going to compare with the AMS. The charge also going to play the role here. So now here I will go to the volumes, then this volume has to be backed up every day. It has to be taken the backup, these 4, right? So what are the backups are, missions are there. For the missions, data has to be backed up every day. So now here for that we can create the life cycle manager. You don't need to do it manually, it can be automated, right? So now here click on the lifecycle manager and create a snapshot lifecycle policy. Click on the create snapshot lifecycle policy. Then here suppose dev backup, some name, right? So here is going to ask you our volume or the instance, right? So usually it will be the volume only, right? Instance means will go the AMI instead of taking from here. So now here the tag, so the tag I am going to choose name, and here 2 names are there. One is the capital name, one is a small name. Let's take any one. So now here with the lower name, we can see there are 2 servers are running, dev and my dev server. So let me take the my dev server, right? Likewise, you can add more tags, more missions if you want to take the backup. Right, as of now I want to take the my dev server volume backup, right? This volume, right? So the volume, for the volume you can add the tags or you can leave it. So then this is the schedule, right? So what is the frequency? Daily schedule. And here the frequency you can see daily, weekly, monthly, yearly, custom cron. You can set up the cron job. Right, so usually we'll take the daily and every 12 hours. So now here the max you can see 24 hours. So I want to have daily once 24 hours. So now here when you want to take the backup, right, starting time 9 o'clock. That is fine. Right, so here, right, so the count how many you want to maintain in the backup. Right, so here you can say like 10. If I take the count, you can say like 10. If you want to like age, you can mention how many days you want to maintain the age. Let's if I go to the count, then here you can see I want to maintain suppose 10. Right, so 10 backups you want to maintain. After that, you're going to remove. Right, so then here IAM role is the section. This policy needs to be associated with IAM role that has happened snapshot to create and delete the permissions. Right, so now here you require the access. The access are nothing but the IAM roles. We'll discuss in the IAM part actually. Right, so here that when you want to perform this action, so now to perform the action, you require the permissions for the creation and deletions. Right, so you are going to create the snapshot after the 10 days, after 10 volumes, it is going to delete it. So for that, it requires the permissions. So that is for that you record the role. So now here, if you have your any role upfront, then you can go with the your role. If you are not sure, right? I am not sure. I don't have any roles. So now we'll go with the default role. Automatically, the AWS will take care of creating a role and attach the role to this lifecycle policy so that it can take the actions. It can create the snapshot. It can delete the snapshots. Right. So now here these are the extra options: tagging information, fast snapshot, restore, right? Cross region copy. Right. If you want to copy into some other region, right? This is one of the feature. Usually, all the resources belong to the one region. If you want to copy into cross region, then you can do that. Copy. You can select the copy. Then you can provide the information, the target region. Right. So this is one of the good feature from here. Then finally you can see here create a policy. This is the policy summary, and right. So I'm going to click on create policy. That's it. You can leave it now. So now this policy will be triggered every day morning 9 a.m. UTC, and it will take the backup of that particular my dev server volume like that. Close. So now one volume you can see it is enabled. Right. So likewise, you can create a life cycle policies for your volume so that automatically the backups are going to taken care. Right. You don't worry about the taking the backups. Right. So after that, you can modify the life cycle policy, or you don't want, you can simply delete it. So otherwise, what will happen? Always it is trying to take the backup. The thing is only the thing if it is trying to take the backup means in the background they are going to charge it. Right. So right once the practice is done, then let's delete it. Otherwise, in the background they are going to charge it. Right, then here go to the volumes. Right, so now here is one of the server I have taken, then the server volume I want to take it as a what is called backup. So now here the volumes also can be right. So not the volume. So now here taking the mission. Right, so I want to have the replica, the server. I want to have the server on my other region. Right. So now if you want to have your server into other region, as we discussed, straight away we cannot take it straight away. The server cannot take the straight away from this region to that region. There is a process, right? The first way which we have discussed is AMI process. Create a AMI for the mission, then copy the AMI from one region to another region, then with that AMI create the server so that you will get everything. The same replica you are going to see. Right. So now here the second way. The second way is by taking the data. By taking the data in the sense volumes. Right, you can take the volumes from one region to another region and you can create a machine with that volume so that you will get the data. Right, here the requirement is I want the data into some other region. I'm not worried about the configuration and software. Just I need this server data. There you don't require to create a AMI. Simply you can take the data. That's it, right? So based on the requirement, you can play it. And also, as I said, volumes are cheaper than the AMIs. Volumes are. So now here, how you are going to take the data only from one region to another region. Yes. Usually, you cannot take the volumes right away. Right? If you want to use the volumes, you have to create the snapshots. Now the snapshot can be taken from one region to another region. Right? So now here, what are the volumes you are having? For that volumes, you need to create the snapshot. Actions, create the snapshot. Right? Once the snapshot is created, then go to the snapshots. Right? Just now I have created a snapshot for my dev server, 10 GB. Right? So now this one I want to move it to, I mean to say copy to the other region. Right? Select the snapshot, click on the actions, then here you can see there is an option called copy. Select which region I want to copy. I want to copy into Mumbai region. Again, encryption can be done. The description by default I'm going to take it. Simply click on the copy. Close. Let's now go to the Ohio. I mean, it's a region. From that, choose the Mumbai region. Then you can see here. Now, right now, we are trying to copy the snapshot that is in the process and the pending. This is the one, my dev server. Right. So likewise, you can take the data only, nothing but the snapshots can be, volumes can be copied, but not the volumes straight away can copy. You can have to create a snapshot for the volume. Now the snapshot can be copied into other regions. Right. So likewise, the server, right? This is two ways. You can tell like the two ways you can do it. One is with the AMIs, the second one is with the snapshots for the volume snapshots. Right. So now go to, I'm going to switch to the Ohio region. And here, let me go to here, then the networking and security. Right. So now here, the networking and security, right, we are going to work with most of the time the security groups, elastic IPs and PKs. The placement groups and networking interface are nothing but when you want to have a cluster, the kind of cluster you want to create. So there the placement groups are going to utilize. So this is not we are going to use much when you want to have a cluster. Already we will be running with the VPC. So the VPC like nothing but we are going to have in same network. That we want to have a more advanced thing, like then we can go with the placement group. This can be ignored. So now here, let's go to the security groups. So when you are going to create a mission, right? So the at the last page is nothing but security group before the key before the key is going to choose. Right? So the security group is nothing but what kind of request you are going to allow, what kind of traffic you are going to allow into your servers, and what kind of traffic you are going to allow to respond back from the server, receiving and responding. Right. So now here, what kind of traffic you are going to allow to receive, and what kind of traffic you are going to respond back. Right. Those we are going to decide here with the help of the security groups. Now the security groups are going to work on the server level. This point, remember, I am going to touch the same point on the VPC side also when you are working on the VPC. Security groups are belongs to the servers. Okay, note this point. So now here the security group purpose is nothing but simply what kind of traffic you want to allow and what kind of traffic you want to respond back, the outbound. So we are going to call it inbound and outbound. It's simple. So now here the thing is, if you are not going to create any security groups, means you are not having any upfront security group. Now your system will be taken care of creating a security group while creating the instance. That's what we have seen here. Right. So by default, the security groups are going to create with the name launch wizard. Right. So launch wizard then followed by some sequence number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 like that. When I are going to create a new mission, if you are not going to choose any security group, by default your AWS will take care of creation of security group by attaching one number, the sequence number. Right. So now here by default every security group will be allowed the port only 22, nothing but the SSH connection. Later on, you can add extra ports so that you can allow the traffic. Right. So now here the thing is, I am going to create the security group upfront. So now I'll go to security group. Then create a security group. Now here you can say security group name, web server security group. Right. So it allows port 80 and 22. Suppose. Right. Which VPC, as of now VPC we are having only one VPC that is going to powered by AWS. So that is going to choose it here. So now inbound rule. Right. The traffic which we are going to allow. Add rule. And here I'm going to choose my SSH 22 and here add rule, and here I am going to choose HTTP support. So now here in the security group part, actually you can see here custom, anywhere, and my IP. So if I choose my IP only for me, right now whatever the network I have connected, for that network only it is going to allow, means only for me, right? So you want to work with your organization, right? You want to work with your organization. So there what you want to do here, you need to provide your organization IPs, right? Because your organization will be having their own CAD blocks, right? Now the CAD blocks are nothing but you are going to select the IP range. So now here my organization is going to use the IPs range from, as an example case, in my organization my organization 10.0.0.12 10.0.0.10. So 1 to 10 IPs we are going to use my organization as an example. Right. So now here you can tell like, so 10.0.0.1 slash. Now this is a representation. We'll discuss about thing in VPC part. Right now you can ignore this one. So 32 means only one port is going to allow. So here I want to allow 20, I mean to say 10 ports means 22 I'm going to give something like that. So that it is going to allow 1 to 10 IPs. The 22 is going to tell us, this number is going to tell us how many IPs you want to take. We'll discuss this thing in VPC part actually. Okay, so just remember it. So now here you can give which IPs you want to allow, so that only the requests which are coming from the IPs, those will be taken. Otherwise, the others will be ignored. If I give something like that, then this is going to allow the requests which are coming from this IP only, not with the other IPs. Even the port 22 is open, but it's not for everyone. It is only for the particular people. Likewise, you are going to give, right? So you are going to secure your servers. You are going to secure your servers. So nothing but no one can send a request to your servers. No one can reach your servers. Only the authorized people. Now when I'm going to authorized people means my organization. Right. So my organization is the authorized one. They can access the servers. So just I'm going to give my organization IPs only, not by others. Right. So likewise, you are going to here we are going to tell whose request you are going to allow by using the custom. Right. So if you want to go with only yours means my IP. Anywhere means anyone from the outer side of the world. So here when we are going to use this one, right? So when you launch the application, right, the application should be accessible to everyone. You should not restrict, right? It should be the public, right? Like Flipkart, Amazon, Paytm, anyone can access throughout the world. There you should not restrict anyone. So there you are going to use anyone. So that any 000 means any IP can be send a request to my server. So now here this we are not going to give the access. Simply we are going to take with my IP only myself. I should access the server. This can be anyone. Likewise, so right, likewise you can create the inbound rules, right? So now here outbound rules. Usually in our real time we are not going to mention any outbound rules, because right, whatever is coming inside, those will be go outside, right? So if the request is coming this IP, now I can send a response to this IP. So I cannot send a response to other IPs because the other IPs are not allowed here, right? So whatever is coming inside, that will be go outside. So that is the reason we are going to focus on the inbound rules, not the outbound rules. Now that is the reason you can see all traffic, right? So because you are going to restrict here, so obviously you can leave this one. Likewise, otherwise right? You want to have more security, then yes, the same rules, whatever the inbound rules you are created here, the same outbound rules you are going to create, so that the only the persons can get the response, not by others. Right? This is the somewhat default, nothing but this is the same action is going to perform. If you want to have more secure, then you will go with the outbound rules also. Then here I am going to create it. So my web server SG is the name, security group, then create it. Right. So now here you can see a security group is created. My inbound rules SSH, not this one. This is the default, and somewhere we are this is the one, web server, right? So here let me give the name so that it will be easy for the identification. Web server. This is the tag name and this is the security group name, correct? So right. So now here this security group I want to use when I'm going to create my web server. So simple, right? So here what I can do is to dashboard, launch instance, and select. So I will go to the security part, configuration, storage, tags, and the security part. So now here I'm not going to tell create a new security group. If I tell like create a new security group, we'll go with the launch wizard. Right? It's not like only with the launch wizard, you can give some name also. That is up to us. That is up to us. So now here I'm going to choose select existing group. Then here from that list, I'm going to choose my security group, whatever I have created. Instead of creating these many security groups, simply you can go with the what is called our own security group, web server security group. It allows port 8 and 22 description. Select it. And then you can click on the review and launch and click on the launch. So that, right? So instead of going with the launch wizard security group with the default, you can have our own security group. That own security group can be attached. Suppose here already my systems are running here. Right now this system is running and it is attached with the security group launch wizard 7. Now this has to be replaced. I don't want to go with the launch wizard. I want to go with my own security group, whatever I have created. Yes, we can do that. So what you can do, click on the mission, click on the actions, then click on the networking. Then here you can see there is a option called change security group. Click on the change security group. Then here you can see one of the security group is selected. Remove the selection. Then here go with your newly created security group. Assign it. Likewise, you can create the missions with some other security group. Later on, if you want to change, you can change it also. Likewise, right? So this is one thing from the security group side. Then here we have an option called elastic IPs, right? So the elastic IPs are nothing but right when the server is stopped. When the server is stopped, we are going to see no IP is allocated. Means the IP will be released and it will be allocated to some other person who is working on like who is requesting for a server. Right. Whenever you have the machines which are in the running state, then only you are going to see one public IP is attached. Right. When the machine is stopped, the public IP will be released. That will be allocated to someone. Whenever you are going to start the machine, then a new IP is going to allocate to us. So now here I don't want to change the group. What is called IPs. Otherwise, what will happen? You are going to create many scripts, or you are going to make the automation of the server by taking this public IPs of the server or the public domain name of the server. So now if I use this public IPs and the public domain names of the server, then if I create the missions, then suppose some point of time to update the server, nothing but to apply the patches or the backup. By the time you require to restart the server. When you restart the server, what will happen? It is going to replace with the new IP. Then obviously your scripts are going to impact. A simple example of Jenkins, right? So now here the Jenkins will be having an IP. Now when we want to access the Jenkins, you are going to use the Jenkins public IP followed by 8080, right? So now here I have like some patches, OS level patches I want to apply on the Jenkins server for the security reasons. So now after the patches are applied, you have to restart the server. So when I restart the server, my Jenkins IP is going to change, right? But in the background with the Jenkins is integrated with the SonarQube. The Jenkins is running with the master and slaves. right? So everywhere we are going to use the Jenkins IP, right? So in the configuration, we are going to use the Jenkins IP. Then what will happen? Everywhere the IP has to be changed, otherwise all will be disconnected. All the integration will be messed up, right? So the likewise the servers, if the servers are having the public IP, we have to take care of these things very carefully. Otherwise, you are going to see many issues. So by that time, the thing is you should not have a new IP when the server is restarted. To handle these issues, you should not change. The server should not change the IPs when the server is restarted. So now here that can be possible with the help of elastic IPs. Elastic IPs can be taken and this IPs can be attached to your running instances, right? So that even though you restart your server, the IP is not going to change, right? So now here we can observe here. So as of now here, this is the mission. Right now the IP is 18.224.57.200. So now here I'm going to stop this mission. I think you guys are observed this one, right? So 200, then once it is stopped, automatically this will be released. And when I'm going to start, it is going to attach the new IP for me. Gone. So now here I'm going to start it again. Actions, instant state, start. So obviously we are going to have a new IP. One 163 that attached to us, allocated to us. Right. So now here to handle the situation, the part will be elastic IPs. Go to the elastic IPs. Here you can see there was as of now I don't have any elastic IPs in my dashboard in my account. So I'm going to ask for the allocate new address. Click on the allocate new address. So now one IP is going to allocate to me. Right. So if you have your own IP pool, means your organization is having their own IP pool, you can select that one. You can attach that one. So otherwise you can ask the Amazon. You can ask the Amazon to provide a IP. So I'm going to select the Amazon, then I'm going to click on allocate. So now here this IP is allocated to me from the Amazon pool, then click on close. So now here you can see one elastic IP is created. Right. So now here as of now it is not attached to any instance ID. Right. So now it is available. Right now it is available. So now here what I'm going to do, I am going to attach this IP to one of the server. So go to the actions and here you can see associate address. Right, so click on the associate address. So right, so here the network interface, nothing but the cluster setup. Here the instance level. So now go to the instance level. Now here choose your instance. So here there are two are running here. Let me choose any one of the machine which is running right now 812. Right, so select the private IP. So whatever the IP is there for the machine, the IP you are going to see here, the private IP. So select it. Right, so allow elastic IP to be reassociated to if already attached. So if you already attached, you want to reassociate, it can be possible if I select it. Right, it means even though it is using, you can change it, you can reassociate it. If I give it, right. If I don't enable it, then what will happen? You have to release it. It means you have to deassociate it. Then you need to use it. Reassociation is not possible straight away. You have to deassociate, then associate. Here, reassociation is possible if I select it. Right. So leave this option. Then I'm going to click on associate. So now here the associate address request is succeeded. Right, so now here one instance attached for my IP call 193. So now here let me go to my dashboard and go to the running instances. Then here you can see one of the machine is attached with the elastic IP, not this one. Our elastic IP is, I think we have the 193, right? This is the one, 193. Right, you can see elastic IP. So now this is a constant one. This is a constant one which is not going to change even though you restart your server. Let me restart it. Action, state, stop. So now here it is going to stop. but still you are going to see the IP, which is not going to release. Refresh, refresh, refresh. See, it is stopped, still you can see the IP. But for the other machines which are not bounded with the elastic IP, those IPs are going to release here. So likewise, we have an advantage, nothing but maintaining the static IPs for the servers by taking the elastic IPs. Now here I'm going to start it again. Yes, that's it. Right. So likewise, you can take. So now here the elastic IPs. What is the price? Right. So now here the elastic IPs are the free ones. So you can take the 5 IPs on a free basis. Right. So then later on, if you are going to take the IPs, they are going to charge. But on what condition? There is a condition. It's like out of the 5 IPs, beyond the 5 IPs, whatever the IPs you are going to take, if you are not using it, IPs are you have taken the IPs from the AWS Amazon pool, but you are not utilizing them, then they are going to charge. And if you are using, then they are not going to charge. Right. So right now here, see, this machine is using the IP. Absolutely fine, no issues. So now here I am going to suppose as an example. So I am going to ask for one more elastic IP for my other servers. So allocate new address. Allocate. Now 216 is allocated to me. Now this one I am not going to use. It is not attached to anyone. This is going to charge after the 5. Right? If you are not using it, it is going to charge. If you are using, it is not going to chargeable. Right. So now here this IP purpose is done. I don't want to maintain the elastic IP no more because this server is not required anymore for us. Right. So now here what you are going to do, you are going to deassociate. When you don't require the server anymore, so by that time you can deassociate the IP, then you can release it if you don't want it also. So that Amazon will take it back and they are going to allocate to some other person who is going to request for the elastic IPs. So now here if you want to deassociate, simply select the IP and click on the actions. Then here you can see deassociate address 193, deassociate. So when you deassociate, then it's going to release from the instance. So now if I go to my instances here, this machine is not going to handle or attach it to any elastic IPs. So then here you can see no IPs are attached here. So then what you can do if you don't want these IPs anymore, the elastic IPs are not required anymore for you. That's no use. Then what you can do, simply can select the IP and then you can ask them to release. You don't want it anymore, release address. So that it will be go back to the pool. Gone. Action. Release. Release. Gone. Like that, you can release the IPs if you don't want it anymore. Right. So if you want to, this is very very important for us to maintain the static IPs. Then elastic IPs are going to use. So then here the one more which we are going to use regularly, nothing but the key pairs. That usually we are going to create the key pairs when you are going to create the instance. Like the security groups, or either you can create the security group while creating the instance, or create the security group upfront, then later on use it. In the same way, keys also. You can create your own keys upfront, then use the keys later from here, or while creating the instance, there you can select it. Either way. So now if you want to create a key pair, so select the key pair, then here sample key, create it. One key is created, PEM is downloaded. Then when I'm going to create the machine, you can choose the key, something like that. Right. So now here, if you don't want the keys anymore, right, this key is not required, or the sample key is not required, then simply can delete it. Right. Already, if you have created your own keys, right. So with the putty gen, we can create our own keys. Right. When you guys observe, if you go to the putty gen tool, there you can see one is the option load and the second one is the generate. Right. So here you can see it is going to generate a key for me. This is the key, my private key. Right. So likewise, if you have any keys are there from your end, those keys can be imported into your AWS. choose the file. So whatever the key we are going to create there, right? The key can be selected here, then it can be imported here, like that. So like that, you can import our own keys, or you can have your key pair key, then you can use it. Likewise, the key pairs, right? So right, so these things are from the EC2 side, like with the server side actually. The server creation, while creating servers, what are the options? What are the properties you are going to take it, like the keys, volume, security group, right? And volume snapshots, automation of volume snapshot, automation of the instance creation, lifecycle manager, like the bunch of options you are going to have. So then here we are going to have some other option called load balancing and auto scaling. Right. So now here the important things are nothing but, right, if you want to maintain the high availability, high scalability, right? So high scalability is nothing but auto scaling, right? When the load is going to increase, automatically the servers has to be increased. High availability is nothing but the load balancing, right? So when any server is down, your application should not be down. It has to be up and running. The application should be up and running even though if your servers are down. Nothing but we are going to maintain the load balancing. So there, one server is down, your traffic should be stopped to the server. Then your traffic should be routed to the other servers which are available. High availability, right? High availability, high scalability, nothing but our load balancing and the auto scaling, right? So now here I will go to the first section called load balancing. Then later we'll see the auto scaling. So click on the load balancing here. So now here we can see the load balancer, three types of load balancer. It is going to display us here, right? So here straight away I can go to the load balancer, right, here. So now here load balancer, and right now I don't have any load balancer. I'm going to click on create load balancer. Now it is going to ask you the load balancer type. As I said, we are going to see three types of load balancers. This is the first one, the classic load balancer. When this AWS was launched, right, they by the time they are going to use the load balancer called classic load balancer. So now they have segregated this classic load balancer into two types: application load balancer and the network load balancer, right? So application load balancer are going to work with the HTTP, HTTPS, and network load balancer is going to work on the TCP, UDP, TLS ports, right? So now here the load balancer will be running with the, like, will be having a layers, right? OS layers. So now on the layers, these load balancers are going to work. So now this application load balancer we are going to call it the layer 7 on the application layer, OSI layers. This is our networking concept. So even I am not familiar with the networking, just some part I understood. That part I'll try to explain here. So here you can see there are 7 layers process we are going to see. So now physical layer, data link layer, network layer, transport layer, session layer, presentation layer, application layer. This is the top level, 7th layer. So now our application load balance is work on the application layer. So now here the network layer will be work on the layer 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, transport layer. So now here each layer they are going to explain what exactly this is. Data link layer. If you have the time, just try to go through these 7 layers. Then you will come to understand the layers purpose, what exactly the each layer is going to work. Presentation layer will be working on the encryption, decryption, translations, and this application layer will be working on the application level actually. The browsers, Skype, Messenger, these will be work on the application layer. And here you can see networking layer, for communication, service addressing, transport layer. This is the one at sender side and receiver side, right? Receive request sending and request receiving and request response, client and server side protocol. This one, right? This is the networking layer, routing and logical addressing on the IPs level. So likewise, OSI levels will be there. There are total 7 layers. So now here these load balancers are going to work. One is on the layer 7 and one is on the layer 4 actually. So usually they will ask which layer is going to the application load balancer are going to work. Right? Application will be layer 7 and networking will be the layer 4. So now here the difference between these two is right? So here when you want to route the traffic based on the application, right? So now when you want to route the traffic based on the application, then you can use the application load balancers. So then when we are going to use, when you have the very limited load, application load, right? So you are not going to have huge amount of load. When you are going to have the huge amount of load, then we are going to go with the network load balancer, not with the application load balancer. Right? So now here the application load balancer based on the application level means here the thing is that when you observe any applications usually, right? So if you remember our game of life, so what I did after the IP, then colon 8080 slash, I have given the game of life so that it routed to the game of life, right? So this is what the application layer, application level of load balancing. We are going to route the traffic to this particular application. We are going to route the traffic to the particular application by giving the path, right? So usually you are going to have the application. The application will be having the different modules. So right. So now here banking, credit cards, debit cards, online banking like that. So now here when I want to go with the credit card, then suppose I will give the credit slash credit so that the you are going to it is going to route it to the credit card page. If I use the debit card, then it will be routed to the debit card page. Like that, it will be routed by giving the our application module names. Right. So now this application load balancer will be working on the same process. So now we are going to tell route this traffic to this particular module, this particular service. We are going to give the path. So now your load network load balancer is nothing but this one. So that by default it will hit the application, not to route to any specific module. So that's why the networking and this by giving the path, by giving the by providing the service name so that the traffic should be routed to the particular application. That is what the application load balancer and network load balancer. So now the classic is a combination of both. Actually, it is going to work. It is going to work with the networking. It can be utilized as a networking load balancer. It can be utilized as a application load balancer. This is the first phase, first one when the AWS is started, right? So here that is the reason you can see it is going to support HTTP, HTTPS, and also TCP. Both are going to support previous generation. Maybe in future they are going to remove this area. They remove this classic load balancer. We are going to see only two in future. But yes, okay, right. So now here I will go to the create classic load balancer, right? So it is going to support both for me. So click on the create. So now here the load balancer, right? So now here what is the load balancer purpose here is, so you want to have a high availability, right? So what the high availability here is, so here what are the application I am going to work, the application should be up and running. So even though any issues we are facing with the server, my application should not be down. So for that, what we are going to do, we are going to run your application instead of single server. We are going to run the application multiple servers, two or two plus, three, four, five like that. So that if any server is facing any problem, still your application will be running on the other servers. Right. So now here I will be having at least two servers to maintain the high availability. Right. So now here when you are going to have the two servers, right? Now which server you have to send the traffic. Usually if I have only one server, so now people can directly reach the server to access the application. But when there are two servers or more than two servers are there where the application is running, so now which server the traffic has to be received, means the request has to be sent. Right. So you cannot give different names like IP 10.0.0.1, use 10.0.0.1 and use 10.0.0.2 also, so that you can reach my application. Right. You should not give something like that. You have to give a common name like to load like flipkart.com, paytm.com like that. But in the background, you are going to run the Paytm application on multiple servers to maintain the high availability. But to the people, you are going to give one name. That's it. You are not going to give all the IPs or all the IPs, all the server domain names. Right? So there you are going to use a load balancer. So now this guy will be work or act as a master. So now here the request will be received to the master, nothing but the load balancer, not to the direct to the servers. So now this guy will be connected with the servers. The load balancer will be connected with the servers. So now this guy will be send the traffic, what are the traffic is coming to this application. So based on the system's availability, based on the system's load, this traffic will be routed to this particular servers. Suppose out of three, right? So two to this gate, one to this gate, based on the system availability and the capacity, right? So now here the load balancer will be the guy. He's like he will be work as a master. He will be work as a master to route the traffic to the servers, the load balancer. Right. So now here, not only routing the traffic to the servers, it will be continuously monitor the servers like an agent. This guy not only sending the traffic to the servers, it is going to continuously monitor the server so that if any server is not responding, then it is going to stop sending the traffic. Only this server will be maintain the traffic until unless it came back. Like so now here, right? So this guy two jobs this load balance is going to perform. One is monitoring, checking the health state of the servers. Based on the health state, it is going to send the traffic or not. It is going to decide it has to send the traffic or not. Then the second one is based on the system load and the systems, the server's capacity, routing the traffic. Right. So again, the load balancing will be followed different algorithms. The load balancers are going to work with the different algorithms. Right. So now here our AWS will be worked with the round robin algorithm. How to send the traffic, which way the traffic has to be routed, right? Like in our software development life cycle, in our software, right, when you want to create any product, right, you are not going to go with directly creating the product. There we are going to follow the software development life cycle methods. There will be having the waterfall model, agile model. Now we are going to call it DevOps model, like that, right? We are going to use one of the models. Likewise, to route the traffic to the servers with the load balancer, the load balancer has to follow one of the models. Like so now here we are going, this AWS is going to follow the round robin algorithm. The model will nothing but we are going to call it algorithm here, round robin algorithm. So now in the Azure is going to follow hash based algorithm, not the round robin. Those guys will be they are going to follow the hash based algorithm. Like that we'll be having a different algorithms. So now in our AWS, the algorithm is the round robin, nothing but one request will go to the first server, then the second request will go to the second server. The second request is not going to send to the same server again, right? So now the third request will be go to the again the third server, the third request will be sent to the first server again, and the fourth request will be sent to the second server. Like 1 2 3 4 5 6, likewise it is going to distribute the traffic, the round robin, right? So now the AWS will be follow the round robin algorithm. Now let's try to set up. So now to set up the load balancer, first I required these servers, require the servers, then create the load balancer and attach this guys. Okay, so let me go and create the servers first instead of creating the load balancer. Like either way you can do it. Let's go with the process. So I will go to the EC2 service, and from here what I'm going to do, right? So I have two servers already running, up and running. I have the two servers up and running. So what I'm going to do, I will make this as a web servers, right? To see how this load balance is working, you have to create the web servers first so that I can send the request and I can see the response. So now here I am going to take the server one, connect. Right, I will go to the key location, then create a new window, then connect the VMs. This is connected with some other key, my AWS key.com. Let me install pd-y. Let me install cpd-y. Service httpd start vi, right, where www.html index.html I'm going to create. This is sample page 1. Service httpd status vi, where www.html index.html. This is sample page 2. So service httpd start and status. Right. So now Apache up and running on both the servers with some sample pages. So just go and test it. So take the server IP and try to access it. By default the port 80, so I don't need to give the port, right, 80 here. So let me take the other server. Okay, so this is 168 coming, but it is launched at the default, is not able to reachable. Okay, right. So here let me see.
I think
Cat.
the file name is wrong.
Okay.
It
Okay,
says
Rajesh.
index T.
ls-l where www.html index.html, this is fine, and the other one is ls-l where www.html. Oh, thank you, Rajesh. Move index index.html to where www.html index.html. Right. So sample one is coming. So the other two, one is coming, not coming means here the security group. Web server security group is attached to the server, so that is the reason I am able to access it. So now here it is running with the launch with 21. So by default it will be having 22. So what I am going to do, simply now I am going to change the security group instead of go and modify the security group. So simply I am going to change the security group from here to here. Yes, I am. So now here restart. So page 2 and page 1. Right. So usually you are not going to deploy different applications on the servers, right? That is not the correct process. You are going to have the same application, but to see the difference, right? So if the round robin algorithm is working or not, to see the difference, that is the reason I have deployed two different pages. Otherwise, a single application you are going to see, but you are not going to see the observation. You cannot observe it whether it's reaching the server 1 or server 2. So that is the reason we are placing the two different kind of pages. So now here I am going to close these two guys. So now I will go to the load my AWS, then I will go to the load balancer. So now let's create a load balancer here. Now create the load balancer, then here web load balancer, some name. Let's create load balancer where, that's means which VPC you want to use to create your load balancer. So now here as of now only default VPC is there, so you don't need to give anything. And create an internal load balancer, nothing but this will be used only for the internal purpose, not for the external people, right? So usually you will be having something like that. Our organizations, our TCS, how CTS Wipro, something like that. These guys are going to manage their own applications, HR applications. But the HR application will be for the organization, not for the everyone, like you and me, which are not belongs to the organization, right? So likewise, we'll be having one second, guys. So now here, yeah. So if the applications are belongs to the organization level, like internally for us, for the employees only. So likewise, you can use this load balancer internally. Then here, this is the VPC part, nothing but VPC level. How what kind of level of what features you want to use. But as of now, you are not using any VPC. I am not going to use it. Right. So otherwise, if I select it, there you can see VPC subnets. Like we'll discuss once we are in the VPC, then we'll understand what is the VPC subnet. So as of now, I am not going to choose any advanced like which subnets I want to use, something like that. So now here you can see here listener configuration, right? So your load balancer, when the requests are sending to the load balancer, it has to take the request first, and the request can be routed to the servers, right? So now here these servers are nothing but my web servers where my application is launched. Right. So now here this application is launched on my app and running on the port 80. And here also the servers, the same application will be deployed and is also running on the port 80. Right. So now here these servers are going to allow the access of port 80 where my application is running. What the requests are coming, those will be allowed with the port 80. So now this load balancer should receive the traffic of port 80 only. If the load balancer receiving the traffic of port 8080 and it will try to send that to the server, means no use, because the servers are going to block. The servers are going to allow only the port 80. So now the listener nothing but the requests. What are the requests you are going to send the load balancer? So the what kind of request has to be listened? It has to be take it. It has to be received. So now that will be decided based on your application. Right. So now my application is a Apache. Now but the default Apache is going to run with the port 80. So now my load balancer has to receive the traffic from the port 80 only. Right. So that's what the listener here. So now here is HTTP, right? So now here you can see the request which we are going to receive. Right. So usually the request which we are going to receive is plain text, right? Hypertext transfer protocol, nothing but HTTP and HTTPS. So HTTP nothing but the plain text you are going to receive the request that will be hacked, that can be easily hacked by the hackers if the requests are coming to the HTTP, right? Because I'm going to send my usernames and passwords, right? Login. Now the request will be go with the plain text, the username and password, so that the hacker can easily hack my credentials. So that is the reason we are going to in the real time we are going to use the HTTPS secure protocol. Right. So now the secure protocol will be sent. The request will be coming from the HTTPS, but internally it is going to convert into. It's going to take it as a HTTP in the server level. Right. So this is one thing actually, but in real time we are going to use this for this process. But as of now, we don't have any certificates. Right? HTTPS means we need to attach the certificates, the security layer, security certificate. Then only I can go with the HTTPS. Right now, we don't have any certificate. Then I can go with the HTTP. So now here, next, assign the security groups, right? So now here, this is the security group on your load balancer level. Right, that's what the lesson, that what kind of request you are going to receive. Then here also on the load balancer level, you can attach the security group, so that you are going to restrict high or more tightly. I can say more advanced level. You are going to restrict the traffic. So now here, I am going to choose my security group, which I already have created for the port 80 and 22. Right. Otherwise, you can take it anyone, otherwise, you can create a new security group. So now I will go with the default, not the default. I will go with the port 80 and 22. Now create the settings. Right. So now here, they are going to tell us go with the secure server level or HTTPS. Right? So that you can have the better security, right? Your request can be secured betterly. That's what. So in the real time, we are going to follow this HTTPS. So right. So now here configure the health check. So this is what, as I said, the load balancer not only sending the traffic to the servers, it is going to check the server's health state continuously. Right? That configuration we are going to do on the health check level. Now in the health check level, right? So now here it is what the continuous monitoring here. The continuous monitoring nothing but simply the load balancer will send a request to the server. Then it will wait for the response. If the request, once the request is sent, the response is getting means it will treat the server as active, healthy. If the response is not receiving from the server, then the load balancer will doubt on the server. Now immediately it is not going to take an action. Now here, first time it is going to send a request. Then it will wait for the response. Now it is not receiving the response. Then it won't decide that the server is not working. Again, it will send a request. Maybe there is a chance of networking issue or from the server side some other issues. You are not receiving the response, but the server is active. Now, due to that reason, you should not make the server is not. You should not take a decision of the server is not active. So right. So there are other reasons which may cause for the delay of response. So for that reason, the load balancer should not decide as a the server is not active. That is the reason. Again, is going to send a request. Then it will wait for the response. Now if the response is getting, then fine. Still the response is not getting me, then yes, something is going wrong. Then it's going to take an action of, okay, I should not send a traffic to this guy. It's going to decide this server is fault, this server is inactive, or this server is unhealthy, like that. Right. So now these rules we are going to configure. Right. So how many requests you are going to send before making the decision of this server is inactive? Like you are going to send 2 requests, 3 requests, 5 requests, like that. Right. So now the request to request, the interval time. Right. So now here 12 o'clock, the load balancer send a request to the server 1. It is the response is not getting. Now the next request, what is the frequency? Right. Immediately you want to send a request, or you want to wait for 5 minutes, then you want to send a request one more time. Like so, likewise, you are going to configure the settings in the health state. So right. So here let's go here. Now here, what kind of request, HTTP request I am going to send? Right. So what is the port? HTTP means default is the port 80. My application is running on the port 80. Right. So now here, where you are going to send the request? Simple. I'm going to go and check the index.html file. Right. So now here, curl index.html. Curl where www www.html. Could not tell the host is not able to enter the host. Okay, ping is anyway it's going to receive. So usually, right. So here I need to provide the DNS name, I think. So here usually when you are going to run the curl command, then you're going to hit the index.html file, and we are going to see this is the response. So what is there in the index.html file? Like means the request sending and response. Like in the background, this is the one which you are going to use actually. So to see whether I'm going to get the response or not. So now here the same thing is going to happen to the our load balancer also. So now here it will take the port 80 and it will go and hit the index.html file. So that the index.html file, if you get the response, then yes, okay, this is working fine. I'm going to when the index it is going to get the index.html response means the server is active. Right. So how we are going to monitor the health state means just you are going to hit your server and nothing but you are going to hit the one of the application page, so that if you receive the response from the application page, it will be treated as active. This is the part that how to reach the servers. So then this is the part nothing but when you want to take an action, whether server is active or inactive. Right? This is the part. So now the response time. Right? Once your load balancer send the request to the server, then how long it has to be waited for the response? 5 seconds. Right? You should not take minutes of time. Right? Immediately the response has to be received. That is the reason 5 seconds. So now there is a right. Your servers are slow. Then you are not going to receive a response within the 5 seconds. Then you can change it. 10 seconds. like that. So now usually the response time is nothing but once the load balancer send the request to the server, then how long it has to be waited for the response. So now the interval, right? So one request to another request, the time gap between the requests, right? So now 12 o'clock I send a request. Then after 30 seconds, one more request is going to send. Now it's going to take a 30 minutes break to send the request from the load balance to the servers. And again, if you think it is a very less time, then you can increase it like 60 seconds, so that every 1 minute is going to send the request. But usually you should not take longer time. The production means always the servers have to be up and running, right, actively. Right? Less time has to be taken. So now this is the thing from the entry point for us. So in the load balancer, this is the one they are going to focus actually. So now here unhealthy threshold and healthy threshold, right? Unhealthy, right? So the server is not active, right? So now here the load balancer will be sending the request, then it will wait for the 5 seconds of the time to get the response. Then the next request will be sent after the 30 seconds. Every 30 seconds, the requests are going to send. So now here, as we discussed, the first time the request was sent, now the response is not reaching, then the load balancer is not going to take a decision of this server is inactive. Now again, after 30 seconds, one more request will be sent. So now here, even though by the time also the request is not responding, means two requests are sent from the load balancer, the two requests are not getting the response. The two requests are not responded. Then yes, I'm going to decide this service unhealthy. Right now, if you think like two requests, you should not take a decision on the two requests. Means within 1 minute you cannot take, right? You have to wait for 2 minutes. Right. So that is the best thing for you. Then what I'm going to do, for every 30 seconds, I'm going to send a request. Now here four request means 4 into 30 means 2 minutes of time. 2 minutes of time we are going to wait, and the 2 minutes of span, the response is not getting from the servers to the load balancer, then the load balancer will be treated this guy is inactive, like that. Like that, this is going to take an action based on the unhealthy threshold count. Right. So now here suppose for right. So now here the thing is again, suppose the first request I get the response, the second request I did not get the response, the third request I get the response. Then you should not take the count of the unhealthy. Like to decide the unhealthy, you should not take the between one which is not responded, because the third one is again succeeded continuously. Continuously, if the response is not getting, then only it is going to count it. One time we get the response, the second time we are not getting a response, the third time we are getting a response, means it's not going to take the non-responded count. The load balance is not going to take the non-responded as a count, right? So the continuously has to be taken. So now here healthy threshold value means, right, once the load balancer declared this service inactive, then we are going to receive the emails, the service is down. Then we'll see, and we'll fix it. What is the issue? We'll connect to the server, and we'll find the issue. What is the issue to cause this load balancer is the application is not up and running? It means the application not responding. Then we'll fix it. So once that is fixed, then what we'll do? We are going to push back. We are going to take the server into the load balancer again. So now here the load balancer immediately not going to send the traffic to the server. It is going to validate. It is going to validate before sending the traffic. So what is the validation here? Is the load balancer has to get the confirmation that this service is active. How is it going to get the confirmation? By sending the request again. So now it is going to send the request continuously. Then it's going to wait for the response. Now here, when the requests are sending, the response are getting, then it will wait for, here the default they have given 10. 10 requests is going to send. For the 10 requests, it has to get responded your server. Then only it will treat the server as active. Then it will start sending the traffic. Right. So now 30 seconds, for 30 seconds, the 1 minute, for 1 minute, two requests means it is going to wait for 5 minutes. Right. Then 10 count means 5 minutes. It is going to wait for 5 minutes, and every right it will continuously the 5 minutes. 5 minutes, the load balancer is going to validate the server. Then it's going to declare this server is active. So if you think 5 minutes means very huge, then you can decrease it. You can change it. Right. So these are the default configurations. Based on the requirement, you can change it also. Right. So now that is what the healthy, and this is what the unhealthy. So now here I'm going to take the defaults. So then I'm going to go for the next step of adding the instances. Now my load balancer has to send the traffic to my server. Right. So now here the load balancer has to connect it to the server, then only it can send the traffic. So for the reason we are going to go to add instance part. So here let me see. This is not able to fetch the instances. That here one table will be displayed and the table we are going to see our instances. For some reason it is going to show us our fetching instance and unknown error actually. So let me go to the add tags and see. I think I lost my connection. Connection got lost. So okay, some internet problems. So, Right, so I will go to the load balancer section again. Load balancers and create a load balancer. Create the classic, and here I'm going to use the load balancer, and here it is fine. Security groups. So in the security group section, I will take port 81, security settings, health checks, go the default and click on add instances. Now here it will show us the instances. Right, so these are the two instances right now running with our web servers, running as a web server. So I'm going to select these two instances, then click on add tags. Right, so you can create the tag or you can leave it. I'm going to give name. Then here I'm going to give as a web load balancer. So review and create. Right, so now this is the stuff of our load balancer. Then finally click on create. Now it's going to create the load balancer successfully. The load balancer got created. Click on the close. So now this is my load balancer. Now if I go to the tabs here, my load balancer details. Right, so here you can see stickiness. Right, the stickiness is nothing but right, the same person. Right, the Shankar is trying to access the application. So now I enter the application. I logged in. I am doing some purchase. Right, so now here after some time after the purchase or like the window shopping is done, then again I'm going to send some other request. Right, so now the request is coming from the same Shankar. Right, so now here the session has to be keep alive so that the same person can do the transactions or can do the browsing or can do the application module or whatever the request is going to send. Right. So that's what the stickiness. Right. So here by default disable the stickiness. You can enable the load balancer generate cookie stickiness and enable the application generate cookiness. Right. You can enable the stickiness so that the request, if the request is coming from the same person, it is going to maintain the previous state also. Right. So here that is what here. Then you can see the security group on the load balancer, and here some advanced configurations. Right. So ideal timeout. If you are not sending any requests, so how long you are going to wait, and you can set as ideal, like so 60 seconds, or you can change it. So before the load balancer is closing to the connection, like the connection is going to right. So now here I have connected, but I'm not doing any kind of browsing, or I'm not using the application. Simply I have connected and I'm working on some other thing. So it will wait for the 60 seconds, then it's going to close the connection. Right. Then you can increase it based on the thing. Right. So the load balancer logs. Right. The logs can be accessed so that if something is happened, so some person, like suppose Rajesh wants to connect to my application, but he is getting blocked actually. He is not able to access application. Right. So those if I go to the logs and if I verify that this guy is trying to access the application, but he is blocked. Right? So what is the reason why this particular requests are going to block? Right. Those analysis I want to do. Right. So for that analysis, if you want to do such kind of analysis, you require the logs. Right. So now you can capture the logs and you can store the logs into you can route the logs into our S3 bucket. One of the service AWS, one of the services is S3 buckets to store the static content. Right. So now if I enable the logs, then once I provide my S3 bucket path, then the access logs will be delivered. Right. The access log means the request which are sending to my load balancer. The logs will be routed to S3 bucket. There I can see my logs. From on the logs, I can analyze what I want. Like where you can capture the logs. You don't need to do any kind of other activities to set up this kind of things. Right? Logs are very important usually. You don't require any extra things. Simply you need to select and you need to choose the path so that automatically this service will be taken care of. Likewise, the cross zone load balancing. Right. So cross zone load balancing nothing but right. If your application is deployed in different zones, that's what we are going to do for the high availability. Right. So high availability is nothing but if you deploy all the servers in the same zone, if the zone is affected with some floods or something, then all the servers are going to gone. Then you are going to down your application will be down. So to maintain the high availability, always you need to have your server should be running at different zones, not into the same zone. So now when the servers are deployed into two different zones, then Your load balancer has to have a capability of sending a request to the different zones, right? Then only that is what the cross zone load balancing. So by default it is enabled. Otherwise, if one of the servers is running in one zone, if one of the servers is running in some other zone, then it is not able to send the traffic to the other zones. It is going to send the traffic to only one zone, right? So now here this is a dynamic migration mode. Nothing but here you can desync. Sorry, not the migration. Sorry, desync mitigation, right? So I think it is a new feature I thought of is the migration. Like the migration, nothing but you can convert our elastic load balancers into application load balancers also. That migration also possible. So this is the new thing I think we need to see. We'll see this one. Right. So now here, these are the settings for my load balancer from the description side. Then here you can see the instances which are attached here. So now here this is what the cross zone load balancing, right? One service is running in a zone A and the other service is running in a zone C. Right? Two different zones the servers are running. Right. So now the servers which are running in two different zones, the request has to be sent to the two different zones. That's what the option here, cross zone load balancing. Right. So now when you configured, when you connected or when you added the instances to the load balancer, by that time it will show you out of service, not in service. By default, it will show you out of service. When you place your mouse here, it is going to show you the process, the instance installation in progress, something like that. It will show you in progress state. Means what it will do here is in the background, once the instance are attached, in the background, the load balancer will try to check the health check. Right. So now here the health check is nothing but is going to send the request and is going to send the we'll see the response. Then once the health check is successful, then here it will take the action of instead. It is not going to check 10 times because the 10 times when it's going to check the 10 times means that 10 times it's going to check when the machine is goes down, then it come back. By that time it's going to check the health threshold of 10. Here it will simply check, it will send the request and if it is going to get the response, then it's going to treat the this machine is belongs to my load balancer like that. The health state. So that is the reason the instance are first initially will be the out of service state. Now in the background, you're going to check the health state of the servers, the load balancer. Then once you got the response, then it will become as a in service. If you are seeing if you are not able to see the load balancer is sending the request to the traffic means here first thing will be you have to come here and you have to see whether the servers are in service or not. If your servers are, if they are not in service means yes, this is the problem here. If they are in service still you are not going to send the traffic means we have to go with the other areas. Now here connection draining, right? So this is one of the interview question for us in the load balance side, right? The connection training is nothing but right. So whatever, suppose my server is not responding, by that time already the requests are sent to the server, right? So now here what the load balance is going to do, whatever the requests are sent to the particular server, it will be processed actually. You right, if suppose that 10 people requests are sent to the server, then if the something is happened not responding, the 10 people should not face an issue. So now what the load balance will do, before taking action of closing or taking action of unhealthy, so whatever the requests are consumed or whatever the requests are processing on the server, that will be completed actually first. The complete means the request will be routed to the other servers, or the request if the server is in the last stage of draining or something like means last stage of unhealthy stage, if it's able to take it, then it's going to process the request on the same server or it's going to route the traffic in the other servers. So now the time of routing the request or the time of completing the request on the server, so that will be nothing but the connection training. Like here we are going to give that 300 seconds means 5 minutes. 5 minutes of time we are going to give. So before taking the action on the server, the all the requests are going to complete. All the requests has to be completed in the 5 minutes of time. That's for the connection training. Right. The health check we have seen the listeners, right? The load balancer, what kind of traffic it has to be listened. This is what if you want to update, you can update, you can modify here. Likewise, the health checks also can be modified. Right. So this is what the monitoring the load balance is going to monitor continuously by whom? By default, CloudWatch is the service. The CloudWatch service will be monitor all of your servers or services freely on a time of every 5 minutes. At 5 minutes, every 5 minutes is going to monitor services on the freely basis. And the tags, Right? This is what actually I thought of this the option migration. Right? So the tags are nothing but our load balancer tags which we have provided as a WebLB. Then the migration is nothing but the classic load balancer can be migrated as a application load balancer. Right? If my application load sorry my I have created the load balancer as a classic, then later on I thought of no I have to go with the application load balancer. So for that, you don't require to create any separate load balancer, application load balancer, then delete this existing one. Simply the classic load balancer itself can be migrated into application load balancer. Simply click on the application load balancer migration, then click on create so that application load balancer will be created. Right? So this is like the migration can be possible actually. Just you don't need to do anything. Simply you have to select this option of classic conversion, then simply need to click on the this is the one launch and click on create. That's what we need to do. Right, so now here let me go back here, and here I want to access, right? I want to access my application. So now here I'm not going to use the server IPs, right? I'm not going to use my server IPs to connect the application to access the application. Now I need to use the load balancer. Right? That's what we are going to do in the real time, right? So whatever the applications we are going to launch, right? So now the applications are going to run on the web servers, not in a single server. We are going to run on multiple servers, not into multiple also. Multiple means more than two. It can be three, it can be five, based on the application. So now all the web servers are going to connect to the load balancer. So now this load balancer will be used for to access the application. So now this load balancer will be having their own domain name. The load balancer will be having its own domain name. If I go to the description, then you can see the domain name. Right. So now here this is some name like web blah blah blah, which the people like human beings cannot remember easily. It's a lengthy one. So that is the reason we are going to use some meaningful, some short format of the DNS name. That's what the Paytm.com, Uber.com, right? Zomato.com, like that. Right. So those are the domain names which we are going to take, and those domain names which we are going to connect to this load balancer. Right. So now here in the real time, what we are going to do, you are going to have your load balancer, and we are going to have our servers, web servers. On the web servers, our application will be deployed. So now the people are trying to access our application via the load balancer. All the requests will go to the load balancer. So now the load balancer will be having their own domain name, which is not easily rememberable. Then what we are going to do, we are going to purchase a new domain name, www.devops.com. This is the site which I am going to launch to, right? So that I want to improve my business, right? I want to increase my business throughout the global, right? So now this is the website I'm going to launch. So my website name is www.devops.com. So my website is running on the servers, right? So now this is the name I'm going to give to the people, not the load balancer domain name, because this is complex, which we cannot remember easily. So now this domain name we are going to connect to our load balancer. Then people will try to access the application to the domain name. Now this domain name will be sent connected to the load balancer. Then the load balancer will send the traffic to the server. This is the process actually in the real time we are going to follow. So this thing we'll see in our later class. So how to map the domain names to your servers actually, to the servers. Okay. So now here as of now I'm going to take the load balancer domain name because I want to see how the load balancer is working. Right. So now here the name can be anything. So now here I'm going to take the load balancer domain name, DNS name. Don't take the area card and take this until .com, copy and now go to the browser and hit the domain name. Now here you can see the request went to the server 2, page 2. Hit it again. Server 1, hit it again. Server 2, hit it again. Server 1, hit it again. Server 2, right? So that's what the round robin algorithm, right? It will be first request will go to the first server, second will go to the second, third will go to the first, fourth will go to the second, like that. This is the round robin algorithm, right? So this is how our load balance is going to work, right? So the first will go to the first, then second, third, fourth, like that, right? So Yes. So now here in tomorrow, like I want to increase, I'm going to increase the servers more because the two servers are not enough. Then simply what you will do, you will create the web server first, then you'll go to the instances here, then here simply you are going to add, edit instances. Then you are going to add the other servers also. Like that, later on also you can add the servers when you want to increase your what is called application capacity. So as of now, there are 3 zones available under this region. US is 2, 2A, 2B, TC, but my servers are running on as of now 2A and 2C. So now which is not, if you think this is not required because right, my instances are not running, so you can remove this one. Right now I have the 2 servers which are running on the 2A and 2C. Right. Right. This is about a load balancer, guys. So here, if I want to convert my load balancer, go to the load balancer, click on the migration, then click on the launch ALB. Like I want to have my application load balancer, then click on create. That's it. Successfully create the load balancer. Close. So now here you can see one more load balancer is going to provisioning. Nothing but the type is application load balancer. So now here the application load balancer will be having the target groups. So we are going to have the target nothing but our routing the traffic. So now in the targets, we are going to see the instances, right? So the target group will be created. In the target, we are going to create target means add the instances. Then this is the L6 as usual, right? So here the path. As I said, we are going to application load balancer will be working on how. Working on how means right. So my application then slash then the particular module program creation or account activation, right, or money transfer. Like what are the module, right? Slash then module name so that I can go I can route to the particular page of the application, right? So the application always will be working on the path level so that the particular service which you want to access, which you want to send the traffic. Right. So as of now, in our my application, we have only one index.html file, only right. That is what my index page actually. But usually the application with our application will be having what is called different modules. So if I go to my site and let me show you something on that. Right. So this is my login page. Now here you can see after the domain name, and I am going to say like go to the login page slash login. That's right. As of now, if you guys observe here, we are trying to reach the application with the domain name only. Right? My application has been reached. Right. So now here we are going to send the traffic to the particular page, nothing but by mentioning the particular module name. So now here I'm going to mod like something here. Loyalty service, another service here. Right, so now here you can observe here now the page is when to getting started. That earlier it was login. Now you can see getting started. So next something we have given. Now here if I click on the company details, now here you can see now the page is routed to loyalty admin, then company. Right. So now this is what the application load balancing. So now where you want to route the traffic. Right. Usually if your network load balancer, nothing but it will simply directly go and hit your application. It will go and hit your application like this. So now in the application, if you want to route the traffic to specific area like this. So now here, this is what we are going to provide in the application load balancer. So now that's what the path here is. Right, the path now here are going to mention, I'm going to mention, suppose I want to route my traffic to this one means I'm going to mention this one actually here. So that when the application load balancer will receive the traffic, straight away it will be sent to here, not into the default like this. Now here, these are the options which we have covered: port 80, healthy, unhealthy. Then there is a one more thing is there, status code, right? So now 200 is nothing but successful, right? When the request is sent to the particular page, then it has to get the output, right? Then it's going to treat as success, right? So now if the success code, if you like, sometimes you are going to receive 301, that is also success, not the failure, right? Now the based on the application behavior. So now we are going to tell the application load balance that if I receive that a code like 200 and comma, maybe sometimes I'm going to receive the code of 301 also. Otherwise, what is going to do, if the request response is not 200, simply is going to fail it. It's going to fail it. Right? You need to tell what kind of codes you are going to get once you send the traffic to this guy. Right? So that code you are going to mention here like that. So now this is the one more property apart from the our classic load balancer. This is extra property on the application load balancer side. Right, so now here that is what the major part from here application load balancer. Rest of the things are same. That one, this one, right? So the same thing we are going to see, and the targets are nothing but our instance details. And here this is the health check. Right. So now here this is what, right? So when you are going to get application load balancer, then we are going to see target groups actually like this. So for the load balancer, for our classic load balancer, we are not going to see target groups. Simply, we are going to see everything in a same section like instances, else, everything. Like we are not going to have any specific target group. So for the application load balancers, we are going to have the target group. So when you are going to create any application load balancer, first what we are going to do, we are going to create the target group first. Now the target group will be having the like the load balancer details and the instances details, then the health check details. Those will be under the target group. Now this target group will be attached to the load balancer. Now here this is the load balancer, which is attached with the target group. Right. So now here if when you want to access it, simple. The same, nothing, no difference here. Simply you are going to click on the domain name and here sample. Right. So now here because both sample to right, round robin algorithm, both are working with the same application, same web server. So both are having the same index.html is the location. Right, so if the application will be having different pages, something like this. something like this. Then you can give the path something like that in the application load balancer. This is what the application load balancer, networking load balancer. Networking load balancer will be working on the your application itself. Straight away is going to send the traffic to the application. That's it. Is not going to bother about which page I want to send, which traffic, which area I want to route. It is not going to bother about. Simply is going to send a request to the our web server only. So this networking load balancer where we are going to use when you have the huge amount of traffic will be will be sending to your application like Flipkart and Amazon sites. They will be having a huge amount of traffic. Like my DevOps.com, Shankar is having only very limited traffic. Then I can have a load balancer kind of application load balancer I can set up like on the application layer. Right, guys? So this is about load balancers. So then the next one will be the auto scaling. Right. So let's take a small break here. Right, we'll come back after 15 minutes, then we'll see the auto scaling if possible. We'll try to cover the other one of the topic, extra one more topic today. Right. So, right, guys?
Okay, Shankar.
Yeah, thanks,
Okay,
guys.
Shankar.
Yeah,
Yeah, fine, Shankar.
yeah.
This conference will now be recorded.
Thank you. Yeah, so when the load is going to decrease, then automatically our servers has to be scaled in. Right? So this is the one of the future which the cloud is providing. So you don't worry about the load part of the application. You don't need to go and set up the infrastructure. You don't need to estimate anything in the future. Like you don't need to do anything. Simply you need to configure the rules and leave it. They are going to take care of everything. So now let's see. So now if I want to have a auto scaling, there we can see two things. One is a launch configuration and the second one is auto scale groups. Right. So first we need to create a launch configuration. Right. What is a launch configuration here? So the launch configuration is nothing but right. So suppose this is my auto scaling group. So now here what we are going to do, we are going to have a cluster kind of thing, a group. In the group we are going to launch our servers. So now here this is my server I am going to launch. So now this is the server which serving my application, like it is a web server where my application is deployed. Now people are trying to connect with web server. So now this is the group where this server is launched. So now here this server is nothing but my application server, right? So nothing but I have installed the Tomcat and I have deployed my application in the Tomcat deploy location, right? We know the deployment location of the Tomcat is deploy for the Apache HTML via WSM, right? So there, so now here I have done the software installation, I have done the configurations which are required to run my application. Then finally, I deployed my application, right? So this is what we are going to do. So now here, when the load is increasing, so when the load is increasing on the server, right? So here the load getting increased. So now here this server is not enough to handle the load. So now what we need to do? We need to add one more server so that it both can handle the load. That's what the scaling actually. Right, so now both can handle the load. So initially we'll go with the one server. So when the load is increasing, so now one more machine is going to launch. So now here, when the machine is going to launch, what should be running inside the machine? Right? It should be like so now the machine I'm going to launch a machine of Ubuntu server, suppose. If I launch Ubuntu server, what is the use? Right? No use because the Ubuntu server has to be have your software and the Ubuntu server has to have all the configuration. Then only the server can utilize as a web server. Then only the application can be distributed to other users. Otherwise, no use. So means whatever the configuration is having for this mission, the same configuration should be having on the other missions also, which are going to launch as part of the auto scaling. If the configurations or softwares are missing, then no use of launching a new mission. Right, so now the same thing is replicated, right? The same mission is being replicated to the other mission which is going to launch as part of the auto scaling. So now who is going to take care to have the same configuration across all the missions? That's what the launch configuration. So now the launch configuration is nothing but we are going to tell what kind of configurations are required on the servers, on all the servers, so that they are going to maintain as a single state. It's no difference between the servers. It should not be. Right. So now here we are going to create the launch configuration so that we are going to maintain the configuration across all the servers. Right. So the first step will be creating a launch configuration. So now here I will go to the launch configuration. So then here I am going to create the configuration. Right. So now, as of now, no configurations exist. So I'm going to create my new one. Create launch configuration. The name, my launch configuration. Some name, my launch configuration. Right. So here, right. So as I said, right. So the image is your software's configurations application, right? So the image is required, right? So usually what we are going to do, so we are going to take a mission. On the mission, right? So we are going to install the required software. Suppose I want to deploy my application, so I'm going to install the Tomcat. Then I'm going to change the port, right? So my default 8080, instead of changing the, as an example, change the port to some 9090. Then deploy the code. This is the configuration and installation, then deployment. So this is the steps I have done on the server, so that people can reach my application with the port 9090 or with the domain name. So now here, when the new mission is going to launch, the same configuration has to be there on the mission, the same on the other mission. Right. So now how we are going to replicate the same configuration? That's where, right? So that's where the images, right? So we have seen the images. So now what we are going to do, we are going to create the AMI. For what? For this mission. For this mission. So now this AMI we are going to use to launch the servers. Okay. To launch the servers. Okay. So now we'll take a server. On the server we are going to set up everything. Then we are going to create an image on the server. Then this AMI we are going to use to launch the, so that we'll get the same configuration whatever the server is having. Yeah, that's what the AMI purpose is. We have seen that one also. So now here we need to select the AMI which is required. Right, so now here I have our my AMS and this is the marketplace AMS. Right, so let me choose Apache with Git something, some AMI I have taken. So now here instance type, right? Now here the instance type is nothing but, right? So based on your application, right? What kind of instances you want to run. So now here we are going to choose the different instance type, but for us, for the practice, we'll take the T2 micro. Choose. It's a kind of template we are going to create. So now here any additional configurations. If you are looking for the spot instances, that if you want to have the like IAM roles or nothing but IAM role we'll discuss later actually, right? This is nothing but we are going to access the other services. As of now, I don't require anything. Right? Detail monitoring is required, EBS optimization, right? Data storage optimization is required. Like you can have the other configurations, security groups. So as of now, we'll go with the new security group, and this is nothing but the auto scaling group or something which is going to create. Then the roles, the security groups are nothing but as of now, the new rule is only 22. Then the key pair. Choose the existing key pair. I am going to choose Shankar 15 key. Right. So now here, what is going to do? It is going to create a new mission with these details. So now a mission is going to launch with Apache and Git with my AMI and with this configuration T2 micro and no additional rules. Then here it is going to launch the system with 8 GB of hard disk and is going to create a security group auto scaling something. Then the security group is nothing but only 22 port is allowed. And finally, I am going to connect the missions with my key Shankar 15 something. So now here the launch configuration comes, so that the same configuration is going to apply across all the missions we are going to launch as part of the auto scaling. Done. Now here you can see successfully created on launch configuration. Right. So now here what we are going to do? Now we are going to create the auto scaling. We are going to create the auto scaling by using this launch configuration. Right. So here, so okay. So now here the auto scaling. Then here this is the what we had. Then auto scaling group. Click on the auto scaling group. We can create an auto scaling group by taking the launch configuration template here. This is one way. The second way is straight away you can go to your launch configuration. Click on the launch configuration. Then create a auto scaling group. Click on this launch. Then actions. Create auto scaling group. But from the launch configuration itself, you can create the auto scaling group, or you can take the auto scaling group, then you can create the auto scaling group. So let me take the auto scaling group, then create an auto scaling group. Now here the name for the auto scaling, provide a name, my auto scaling group, some name I have given. So now the launch template, right? It's nothing but your launch configuration, whatever you have created. EC2 template, no, this is not the one. This is the template which I have created to create the what is called servers, the missions. This is the template. We have created my launch configuration, right? So here I'm not going to choose the launch template anything. Click on next. So it is going to ask me the launch template. Choose the launch template content instance level setting. But here I should see my launch configuration. So I'm going to switch to my launch configuration. So here, right. So this is a new feature they have added actually. Earlier we don't have this kind of feature actually. So now this is nothing but I can go to the launch configuration or I can go to the launch template. Right. In our starting class, we have created launch template to create a mission. Right. You can take this launch template or you can take the configuration. So right. So now here the launch template will be having the EC2 template which I have created earlier. But this is not what I'm looking for actually. So I need the launch configuration. So I switch to the launch configuration. Then from that, I'm going to choose my launch configuration. Yeah, this is what we have created actually. So then click on next. So now here you can see the VPC, right? Virtual private cloud. As of now, we are not into the VPC. Just go with the default VPC and subnets here. So click on the drop down list and select all the subnet as of now. So my auto scale means whatever the new missions are going to launch, whatever the new missions are going to launch, those new missions as part of the auto scaling, if the load is increasing on the server, so automatically it's going to create a new servers. So now this new servers can be launched on any zone, right? So we are in the US East to Wahia region. Now US East to will be having three zones, 2A, 2B, 2C. So now here what I'm going to tell, when any new mission is going to launch, create the mission in any other regions so that I can maintain the high availability also. If everyone is creating in the same region, same zone, then there is a chance of failures. Right? That is the reason. Subnets, I have choose all the three zones, what are the zones are available. So now click on the next. Then here, if you want to have the load balancing, you can enable the load balancing, right? If you have the load balance, right? So now as of now, our purpose is I want to see the auto scaling. So I'm going to leave it is then the health checks, right? So now the health check is nothing but so the amount of time until EC2 auto scaling group perform the first health check on the new instances, right? So when the new server is going to launch, so now this is going to perform the health check so that it can send the traffic. So now here how much time is required when the new instance is going to launch. But usually, when the system is going to launch, if any bootable scripts are there, those scripts are going to execute. Now the scripts maybe take 2 minutes or 3 minutes or 1 minute, right? So to configure everything. So now that grace period you need to provide. Once the instance is going to launch, you have to provide the grace period so that the system can adjust everything. Right. So that's what the here else grace period. So 300 seconds means 5 minutes. It is going to wait for to perform the health check on the machine. So now here I'm going to change it 180 seconds so that 3 minutes. I don't want to go with the 5 minutes. So now here monitoring, right? If I give the monitoring, enable the metric collection of the cloud watch, it like what is called advanced level will be paid and default will be the free. So click on the next. So now here this is the one thing which we need to focus. Group size, right? So now the group size is nothing but desired capacity, minimum capacity, maximum capacity, right? How many, right? How many servers you want to have in the auto scaling group? Now this is my auto scaling group in the server. How many you want to have? Desired capacity, right? So minimum, how many you want to launch, right? So now here the thing is, so I want to go with the one. I want to go with the one. When the load is going to increase on the server, I want to have at a time 2 servers. This is what my desired capacity. My desired capacity is 2 servers. Right? When the load is increased, then you have to scale up the missions. Now how many you want to scale up? 2 at a time. So desired capacity is 2. Minimum is 1. I want to go with the desired of 2 so that when the load increasing 2 is going to launch like that. So now here how, right? So as of now I'm going to go with the desired also 1. That based on the load which has to launch only one by one like that. So max, right? There is a budget constraint. Budget limit will be there. You cannot go with the unlimited servers. So right, I want to have only 5 servers has to be launched max. Otherwise, at the end of the month, I'm going to receive huge amount of bill. Right. So now here I will go with the desired capacity 1 and I will go with the minimum capacity 1, but the max should be 5, not the beyond 5. Now this is what our scaling policies. Right. So here my scaling policy is nothing but here this is something new. I can see instance need that warm up period, tracking policy, average CPU utilization. 1 second, guys. I need to have some kind of health check also. Target tracking policy, disable scaling, auto scale, instance scaling production. Okay, let's see. Okay, fine. So now this is the scaling policies, nothing but the rules, right? So when the new system has to be created, when the new system has to be created in the group, when the load is going to increase, right? So now here you are going to tell in the rule, this is the name, target rank or something, some name, and this is the metric, right? So now here on what basis you are going to launch the instances? The average population, networking in bytes, networking out bytes, application load balancer, request count for target metrics. So now if the average CPU utilization I'm going to take greater than 70%, let's go with the 60%, right? So 60%, then I want to take an action, right? So now here warm up period, including the metrics, seconds, right? So now here that's what. So when the system is going to create, how much time is required to bring the system into the auto scaling group, right? I'm going to give you 180 seconds. So now here instance scale in protection optional. Let's the this one I'm going to leave it as it is because it's an optional. Next, click on next, add notification. So now this is the notification step, and here I'm not seeing the instance creation. Let Okay, so let me. This is the new features they have added. Actually, I think so. There is one thing. One thing is missing: the threshold values and the instance launch. Right. So that's what I am looking for actually. So let me see the other way. This is the new. Is a new thing I think. See. So I will go with the old experience or what. Let me give me a second, guys. So this should not be something like this. See, continue to see the new dashboard. Auto screen grid. Okay, the old auto scaling groups console is no longer available. We will keep with the new console based on. Okay, they have disabled it actually. Okay, fine. So means I will need to go with the latest only. So then let's see. This is first time I'm going to see then launch configuration, actions, auto scaling group. Then here my auto scaling group name is my auto scaling group, and this is the launch configuration. Next VPC. In the VPC part, I'm going to take all the subnets so that it is going to launch the mission in any zone. To B to C. Then scroll down. Next, as of now, photographs is not required. EC2 300 seconds. I will make it 180 seconds. Monitoring as of now, I don't need the monitoring. Click on next. So this is the thing, and here this is the policy which I am going to looking for. So now here high utilization, something high utilization. Then the average utilization is greater than 60%. Warm up period I'm going to give 180 seconds. So disable scaling to create only scalar policy. This is the adding of servers. So now likewise I required scaling policies also. So now here I am going to click on enable scaling protection. It was the scaling enabled newly launched instance will be provided on the scaling by default. Okay, this is not I am looking for actually. I require the scaling policy also. So where can I find that scaling policy? It's not showing anything. Click on next and notifications. SMS topic. Click on next. Okay. Okay. Right. Okay. So here one more thing which we need to focus is SNS topic. Like we go back this one and we'll come back here actually. Right? Because any action which we are going to perform as part of the auto scaling is when the new mission is going to launch or when any mission is going to terminate. So these actions has to be notified to the team, notified to the management, right? So that's what here that the topic of SNS, right? So event types when your mission is launched, or terminated, or failed to launch, or failed to terminate. These are the events. On any event, I require a notification so that I will come to know okay these many servers are created or these many servers are failed to create or something like that. Right? So if you want to get the notification, there the service is the SNS topic. So it's a simple one. So first let's create a SNS topic, then we'll come back and we'll set up this one again. So go to the services, then here let's search for SNS, simple notification service. Select this one, then we need to create a topic. The topic is nothing but to whom you want to send the notifications. Right. So now here I am going to create a topic called email, something. Next step, display name, email, something for communication, right? These things you can leave it is encryptions, access policy, and other stuff. Simply create a topic here. So now here we can see the topic got created with the name email. So now for the topic we need to create a subscription. Now we need to use the topic. So for that we need to create a subscription. So now once the topic is created, then create a subscription. Click on the create subscription. So now here the topic which I'm going to use my email. This is the topic I have created. Then the protocol. The protocol is nothing but right where we are going to use this topic. We are going to use the HTTP request, HTTPS request, email JSONs, Amazon's SQL, and lambdas. So right now I want to use this topic for my email communication. So I'm going to select the email. So now whom you want to send an email? So I want to send the email to the person called Shankar. Right, so now this is the guy which I want to send an email notification with the help of the topic called email. So now you can leave this optional stuff and create the subscription. Right. So now the subscription is created. Now here you can see status is pending confirmation. Means this guy, this SNS topic, SNS will send a email to me to that email address. So I need to accept it. AWS notification subscription. Click go to this email, then confirm the subscription. So click on the confirm. So then the subscription is confirmed. Then you can go to the your ASNS topic. Then here if you refresh, then you are going to see the spending will become as a active. Email. The network is bad or sometimes it is disconnecting, sometimes disconnecting. Right. So here I'm going to refresh so that I should see here the status is confirmed. Right. So now here, if you want to have any communication, like you can create a SNS topic, simple notification service. You can use the simple notification service there. First, you need to create a topic. Now for this topic, you need to create a subscription. Now in the subscription, what is the purpose of the topic? Like you want to send an email or you want to use it as a Lambda or you want to use it for the HTTP or HTTPS calls. Right. So now here, if you want to test it, you can go to the dashboard and here you can test it. So right, you can integrate with this actually. This SNS topic can be integrated with the services. Right? They will show the demo also. So if I go to the topic, then here I can see a published message. So select the topic and click on the published message. Right. So now here the subject testing. Time to live. Right. So time to live. So how long you want to like wait for this one. So now here I can give here hello, how are you? Then message attributes you can take the message attributes. You can pass the subject or something like that. The external properties. So as of now, I'm not going to use anything. Simply I'm going to use my email topic and my subject is testing. Then this is the content I'm going to test it. Means I want to send it. So scroll down, click on publish message. The published topic email successfully. If I go here, inbox, I should receive the testing hello, how are you from the SNS topic. Right? A kind of testing I have done means it's working or not. So now here my SNS topic is ready with the name email. Now I will go back to the service again. So services and auto scaling. Right. So here I'm going to click on okay plan. This is all the stuff which is not required. Already we have the auto scaling stuff. Go to the EC2 and from the EC2 go with this auto scaling. That is the easiest way for us. So go to here, then from that I will go to the launch configuration or auto scaling group. Then here I'm going to select my launch configuration, go to the actions, create the auto scaling group. Now again start with the setup. My ASG, and this is the launch configuration. Click on next. From the VPC part, I'm going to choose all the subnets. Then next, I'm going to leave. This is I'm going to change it as to 180. So CloudWatch as of now I don't require. I'm going to go with the next. Capacity max will be 5. Choose your scaling for dynamic reset auto scaling. Yes. Target. High utilization. Target value 60%. Instance need 180 seconds. And here disable the scale policy. As of now, I don't want to disable it. This is not required. So protection is not required as of now. Click on next. Now here I'm going to select the notification. Then here email is the topic which I'm going to choose so that the email is going to send the email to me. Then this is the events. Next. So tags as of now I'm going to leave the tags. Next. Alright, so this is what the scaling policy which I can see add or remove capacity is required, high utilization 180 seconds, maintain average utilization at 60%. So enable scaling. Scaling is enabled. Scaling policies, load balancing, health check, then set. Let's create the auto scaling group. Now the auto scaling group is going to create. Right, so now this is the my auto scaling group which is connected with the launch configuration. Status updating the capacity. So here, if I go to the scaling policies, you can see actions, scaling policies, what is there here. This is the high utilization. Add policy, target type. Actually, I think they have removed the scaling. Earlier, we are going to have the scaling policy also. Like if the target is less than 30%, then I want to scale in my instance. Likewise, we are going to write the rules. One is for to scale up the missions based on the target value. So like this. So here my CPU utilization is greater than 60%. Then I want to have add instance. This is one rule we are going to write. Then one more rule we are going to write CPU utilization less than 30%. Then remove the instance. This is the second rule for to add and for to scale out and scale in. These tools we are going to add in the past months before the update. So now here they have given some kind of checkbox. If you want to scale in or not. So if I want to disable, I can scale. Means whatever the missions are going to launch, that will be running for the longer time unless you remove it. If I disable it, if I enable it. So if I'm not enable, it means automatically they are going to scale in. So like how it is going to scale in, that's what I'm looking for. So maybe if the target value is less than, automatically they are going to remove the instance. If the target value is greater than, then automatically they are going to create the instance. That's what my guess is actually right now. Let's see what has happened. So now here I'm going to go to the auto scaling group. Right, so everything is done. So now here the instances, the status and everything you can see. You can see. Fine. So let's try to test it. So now here I will go to the dashboard, EC2 dashboard. Then from here, I will go to the running instances. Right now here you can see 3 servers are running. Right. So earlier we were having only 2 servers, if you guys remember. Then if I select the mission and go to the AMI part, this is the Amazon AMI, which I have not taken actually. This is not us. And if I go to the second one, if I go to the AMI part, right? So this is the one, Apache with Git, right? So this server is launched. This server is launched as part of our auto scaling, right? So now here, what I did here is I have mentioned like I required minimum one server, and max 5 server and desired. This is what the criteria. Minimum 1, max 5, desired also 1. Right. So at any cost in the auto scaling group, one server has to be up and running at any cost. So now here what I'm going to do, I am going to select the mission and the instance state terminate it. So now from the auto scaling group, I am going to delete the mission. As of now, we don't have any missions are there. Right? Only in the group, only one mission is there. So now I have deleted this mission also. So now this auto scaling group is not having any missions. But as per the rules, as per the configuration, I have said like I need at least one. So means auto scaling group automatically create one more mission. That is the auto scaling group job. It's going to monitor if any mission, like if the desired state is not matching. If the desired state is not matching, then immediately it is going to bring the missions. Like our Kubernetes, right? In the Kubernetes, we are going to have the desired state. So let's see here, as of now, only 2 servers are running, our load balancer servers. So let's see. But in the meantime, to see the auto scaling, we need to put some load on the mission. So to put some load on the mission, we need to run some kind of tools. So let me go to the auto scaling group and see. This is what I'm looking for actually. Desired minimum max. So as part of this configuration, we need to have at least one server in the group. See again, you can see 3. Count become 3. So means your auto scaling group launched a new mission. Right? If I select this mission, you are going to see the same image because the launch configuration. In the launch configuration, I mentioned like I want this image, I want to have the so and so configuration, something like that. Right. So now here, once this mission is launched, what I'm going to do, I am going to connect this mission. Right. We have provided the key. The key is nothing but my key is Shankar 15 something. So right. So now here, go to the connect. Right, so if you guys remember, right, so if the machines are created with the image, by default it will go with the root. Now we need to change the default user, EC2 user. Right, because these machines are created with the images, our images, right? Copy, and here I will go and connect to the server. Right, in the meantime, we can go and verify our email, right? Action. At any action, I want to have an email, like if the machine is terminated, if the machine is created, like that. So let's go to my email and see. See here, right? So auto scaling terminated, auto scaling launch a new group. Right. The first one is when I terminate the mission, and the second one is when it is going to launch a new mission. Right. So likewise, you are going to receive the email notifications when the actions are going to perform on the our auto scaling. Right. So now here, let me go and see connection timeout. Still, it is not ready. Right. Let's try it one more time. Now 2 by 2 checks are there, and the security group is auto scaling security group. So by default, it should have the 22 before reply. Okay, I think this is the reason we are not able to connect it. So edit, add role, SSH, anywhere, save. So now we'll go here and try to hit it again. Yes, so right, the security group is not having the accept 22. So now here I have connected it. So now top is the command to check the load on the machine at 0.05 right now. Right, so now our criteria is if that load is greater than 60%, then I want to have a new mission. So now we need to put some load on the mission so that we can see the scenario auto scaling. Right, for that what we are going to do, right? So we cannot put a load means I need to hit my browser, right? I need to deploy an application, then I need to go and hit the browser continuously. Then the load will be increased. Like one person cannot increase the load of 60%. So there should be a group of people like 10 to 20 people parallelly, like they have to hit the application continuously. Like that is a kind of time taking process, even though you cannot succeed at the safe utilization. For that we have a tools, the performance testing to check the performance testing, to check the load testing. Then we are going to use the tools instead of going with the manual way of testing. So there in our Linux, we have a tool called stress to put load on the machine. We have a tool called stress. The stress tool can be utilized to put some load on the machine. Right. So now here to to what is called to download the stress. This is the link guys I have provided in the document. So just go and download it into your machine. So this is the RPM file. Right? So run the RPM -ivh RPM -ivh then it. Right. So now this is the low level package RPM file. I have installed it. Then install the stress. Install the stress. So now this is the command to install the stress. Nothing to do. I think all the stress is there or what? Yes, we have the stress. So it is not required. It is enough. The RPM package enough. It's not required because already I can see the stress command is giving the options for me. So now here this is the stress example. Right, so -hyphen CPU. So how many CPUs I want to play so that the load can be increased on the machine, like putting the load, like consuming the CPUs. So now here 70 CPUs I want to consume. So and how long, right? So the timeout is 3600 minutes, 1 hour. Right, I want to run for 1 hour so that it is going to consume the 70 CPUs, 70 CPUs continuously. Means it's going to put some load. Right. So now here 1 hour is very huge for us. So what I'm going to do, I will make it as 5 minutes. Now here instead of 70, I will take 90. Let's now take the stress command. Right. So here I am going to run it in the background. To run it in the background, you can use ampersand. Right. So now stress is initialized. So now top command. Now you can see the load will be increases slowly. 19, 25, 30. Just okay. I don't have any alarm setup actually. This is something completely they have changed it. Activity, monitoring, this is a metric collection. Now it is become 70%. So when it is going to become 70%, it is not going to take the action immediately because the health checks. So like whatever the health checks you have provided there, based on the health checks, is going to take an action. So let's wait for some time. And check base will be 180 seconds means we have given 3 minutes of time. So they have removed two options. One is the scale in policy is removed, and the second one is connecting to the cloud watch actually. There actually we are going to have the alarms. So the alarm part also removed. So usually what will happen, our cloud watch monitoring will be monitored our servers. When the CPU utilization is high, then immediately it is going to trigger the alarm. Now the alarm is nothing but it's going to add the missions. So now here how it is going to happen without the alarm? That's what I'm wondering. Let's see. Let's wait for 2 to 3 minutes and see. We go to the service of CloudWatch. So insufficient. Insufficient. Oh, great. Then already having the alarms are already created automatically. Okay, earlier we used to create these alarms actually, but here by default the alarms are came. 3 data points. To create a new mission, it is going to wait for 60% of the load should be there on the mission for the 3 minutes of period. So 3 data points is going to verify. So still we have the 88%. That is good. So when this insufficient data become as okay, means it is satisfied the condition. When the condition is satisfied, then this alarm is going to trigger. So if I go to the CPU utilization here, now here at this point we have the load actually at this point. So now it is continuously there, the CPU utilization. And so now that is you can verify here the complete trace. So here we are waiting for the matching of the condition. Once the condition match, then it is going to trigger the alarm. Let's see here, alarm got triggered. So when the three data points are matched here, so now here the alarm is triggered. Right, so now it is in the in alarm. So the now that this is the part. So now here in the in alarm is nothing but you have reached the situation high or the till of 2 minutes. So now here the action has to be taken. Right, so still it is not taking the action. Let's see the in alarm will go to the OK page. See here, still you have 82% good. Now see here, it becomes okay. Right, so now here, let me go to here and see. Perfect. So now here, when the alarm is triggered, now it's going to create a launch mission. So now here I will go to my dashboard and sorry, not this dashboard, services EC2. Four missions. Now one more mission is added. Right? This is what. Right, so automatically the mission is going to launch based on the load. Right, so this is a rule we are going to set up. Right, so the tool is nothing but how much CPU utilization you want to see, then based on the CPU utilization, how many missions you want to launch. Right. So now in the background, this is the process which the AWS, like our service are going to happen. So now the CloudWatch will be monitored continuously. The CloudWatch. This CloudWatch is a monitoring tool. So now here it is going to monitor continuously on the servers. So now here what based on the criteria, if the condition is met, then immediately the alarm is going to trigger. So when the alarm becomes okay, then the action is going to perform. So so once the data again the load will be decreased. Right. So now my 5 minutes are over. So now the load will be decreasing slowly back. So now again, right? So now here, this alarm will be triggered again when the system need to be scaling. Right? So now here, as of now, based on the load, it got created a mission, it's created a launch. So now here, when the when this is going to scale out, then we are going to see the scaling notification termination. Right? So now again, for that also, we will be having the criteria, the conditions. Right. So now see, it came back to insufficient. So now here again the alarm is waiting for the data. Right. So now here it is not available the data. The 60 points data is not there. Right. It came back. Right. So now here the scaling policy. Right. As of now, like they have not provided any separate scaling policy. So my guess is so it will wait for the 3 points of data time for the less than 60 the threshold value. Then automatically it is going to delete. That's what my guess is actually. So let's see, because we are not having an option of creating a scaling policy. They have removed it. Right. So we'll see this one like anyway in the background it is going to happen. Right. So it is going to delete automatically because we are not configured anything. Automatically it should be happen. So right in the meantime we'll try to cover one more service for today. Then we'll wind up. So the other service is elastic file system, right? So in the elastic file system, usually where we are going to use like our Docker containers, right? So now here in the Docker containers, what we are going to do to maintain the state, what we are going to do, whatever the containers we are going to create. Now to maintain the data, the state of the container, we are going to create a volume. Now these volumes are going to attach. These volumes are going to attach to the container, correct? Our Kubernetes also will be using the same concept. Pods, persistent volume planes in the Kubernetes. Here we are going to call it the volume. Right. So now here the data will be pushed to the volume. So at any point of time, if I lose the container, still I can have the data. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to create a new container. Then the new container is going to attach to this volume. Correct. This is what the architecture which we are going to follow to maintain the state of the containers. Right. So now here the same thing which we can handle with the AWS services also. Right. So now here when more than one server, two servers or more than two servers want to share the data between them. They want to share the data between the servers. But usually when we are going to create the services, services in the sense instances. When we are going to create the instance, correct? When we are going to create the instance, so then for every instance we are going to have a separate volumes, right? We are going to have a separate hard disk actually. Right? That's for the volumes. So now here I don't want to have a separate volume, so simply I want to share the data between the servers. Right. So that's what the EFS, elastic file storage. Right. So now here if you want to set up the EFS, right. So EFS is nothing but elastic file storage in the storage section. So it is the EFS feature is it is cheaper than your EBS. EFS is cheaper than the volumes, but likewise when it is the cheaper means the future also will be the cheaper means the retrieval time, the data writing and the retrieval time on the EFS will be slower than the EBS. EBS are much faster than the EFS. Right? When you want to work with the transactions, right? So their EFS are not going to suitable. It is going to have you are going to see the latency. The EFS are suitable to store the files like static files, images, something like that, not for the transactions or something like that. Right, right. So based on the requirement in your project, right? So if you are not using like huge amount of transactions, something like that, then your EFS are the good because these are the cheaper than your EBS volumes. Now with the EFS, we have an advantage that the EFS are scalable automatically. You don't need to scale up, right? So in the volumes, if I create the volume with the 500 GB, now the 5 GB, like the data is beyond the 500 GB, then you need to go to the volumes, go to the actions and modify the volume, then increase the volume size. Right? Then only it can accept the data. Otherwise, it is not going to accept it. But in the EFS, you don't need to do something like that. Automatically, it's going to scale out. Automatically, going to scale in. It's going to synchronize. It's going to expand automatically. The EFS. You don't need to worry about the expanding and synchronization. The EFS will be having such kind of feature. Right. So now here, right, to set up the EFS, right, to set up the EFS, what I need to do, right? So what I'm going to do, I am going to create a file system. So go to the services, then search for EFS, then manage the file storage for the EC2. Select this one. Right, so now here you can see create a file system. You can see here standard storage, infrequent access request. This is the price, $0.3 per GB standard. Where your access is very infrequent, then 0.25. Right, so now here the very less frequency, then 0.10, which is a thousand, then 6 per MB. Like that, you can see the storage price actually. Right. So now here, what I'm going to do, I will go to the file system, and here I'm going to create a file system. As of now, I don't have any file system. So click on the file system, and here give some name, EC2 EFS, some name. Create a file system, EC2 EFS. Not be longer than 2 and must only contain letters and numbers and these characters. Icon is there, fine. So then VPC, as of now, the default VPC, we don't have any other VPCs. Click on create. Right, so now here by default is encrypted one and the EFS is created. Right, so now here select that EFS. So scroll down here, and here you can see the options, meter size, like the representation, monitoring, we know, like default monitoring, tags, file system policy. Let's go to the file system policy here and see. Right, this is the access level thing. As of now, we don't record access points. This is not the one I'm looking for. Network is also not the one. There's a network manage. So like this is the not the one. So everything got changed. Actually, earlier was something, and right now is something I'm going to see. Right. So here, let me show you the option. Right. Once it is created, then tags, and here once after the creation. Right here, I need to see the file system access thing actually. So here, if I go here and see file system access points, create an access point. No, not this one. Select it. When I select it, I should see the like how to connect this EFS. So the documentation we are going to find actually, because of the new features they have changed everything. So let me go and see. Manage EMS and file systems. This is what actually we are looking for. Details. Okay. I think the options are changed. I'm not able to see this mounting of the EFS. So actually we are going to see once the file system is created. So how to mount this file system actually, file system access. So there they are going to tell us how to mount this one. But these instructions are everything, they have removed it. That's what. So this is the mount instructions actually. So that one I can see here. Access points. File system policy is the one they have introduced. Nothing but this is for the access level. Maybe this is where we need to configure. I think. Okay, fine. So I think it cannot be done today. So I will see this one today, and we'll see the thing in our next class, guys, because the options are everything they got changed. So where we need to configure it, I need to see it again. Right, guys. So better we'll stop it here. Now let me go and see whether the scaling is happened or not. So only the launch got happened. We are not going to see any scaling by default. If I go to the EC2, yes, still we have the 4 systems, means only the scale out is there. Automatically the scaling is not happening. So for that, again, we need to see the scaling policies has to be written or not, because I am not able to see any kind of scaling policy here. They have given a kind of checkbox only. So let me see that part also today, and I will let you know how to scale with the new configuration, new settings actually. Okay, right, guys. So we'll stop it today, and we'll meet in our next weekend.
Thank you, Shankar.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah. Thanks, guys. So
Thanks,
Chris,
Shankar.
please.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you. Chris, please share the recording. So you have the.
Yeah. Usually, how long does it take, Shankar, for it to appear?
So this will take 1 hour to to have the recording available.
Oh, okay.
Minimum.
Yeah. In
Okay.
that case,
So
6 o'clock for me.
uh,
So I should be able to share it before I go to sleep. Yeah, it should be okay.
okay, yeah. If you click on the share now, but there it will show you if it is in the progress or it is available. Then if it is available, then just copy and paste. Let's send it to us. Yeah, minimum 1 hour it will take, Chris.
Okay. I'll send the link in the group because okay. Yeah, I can reply to all in the email, in the group email. Yeah,
Email.
sure.
Yeah. Good. Yeah. Okay, Chris. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Bye.
thanks everyone. Yeah. Bye bye.